Was the best unit on the football field today. The Chiefs' offense probably got to claim second place, apart from either thing the Broncos attempted to do. But it's hard for me to say that confidently. This is a victory for the Kansas City Chiefs, and as I'm sure many of you will remind everyone tonight, you don't apologize for a victory. Heck, the Chiefs even covered, or at least got the push if you were maybe a little bit late on the line. But I don't know, within reason, how many people, how many Chiefs fans watched this game tonight and felt better about their team. There's some really interesting stuff that we will dig into. There are some things that I think I might have a little bit better of an understanding on, and some things that I am even more confused about than I was before this game. It's Thursday Night Football. That's always going to be odd. The divisional games and all of that, I hear you. I'll start big picture positive and negative, which will, of course, and predictably at this point, what a crazy thing to be able to say. But predictably, as things have gone for a huge chunk of this year so far, I've got a lot of really nice things to say about the Chiefs' defense. Because for all of the talk of the Broncos in total disarray, 98% of that is completely true and completely valid. But like 2% should be devoted to noting what the Broncos offense and this version of Russell Wilson. This is damning with faint praise, but it's not as bad as last year. There are some real weapons on that Broncos offense. They're a bit hapless as a team altogether, but that's not the part that's let them down predominantly this season. The Broncos offense is okay. Little less than that, but it's fine. And the Chiefs today made that Broncos offense look like the 2022 edition. Did they upgrade with Sean Payton from Nathaniel Hackett? Still TBD, I suppose. They'll give Sean Payton more than 1 year to figure it out, and we'll see how it goes. But when the Chiefs play the Broncos in Denver in 2 weeks, and yeah, that's not me misspeaking, in 2 weekends from now. Obviously off this weekend, the next weekend will be the Los Angeles Chargers. Game next up, the Chiefs go to Denver and do this all over again at Mile High. But the Chiefs defense today, once again, re-emphasized what we've learned about this unit. This is a legitimate group against whatever opponent. And if you can't find that storyline, I don't know how to help you. The defense gave up 14 points against the Lions in a losing effort in week 1, so this Thursday at least went better than last Thursday. Or the last Thursday the Chiefs played on. They held a Jags offense that I thought was good and then thought might not be good. Now I think is pretty good again. To 9 points in Jacksonville. Should have shut out the Bears, gave up 10. Gave a shocking 20 points up to a Jets offense that did not look good at all leading up into that game. Zach Wilson made a few big throws. That's the kind of thing that skews a score. And sometimes you just have a quarterback put the ball where your defender isn't. And then 20 points against the Vikings, pretty much completely shutting down Justin Jefferson. Now tonight, one late touchdown and a 2-point conversion. That was sort of hard to watch, but one late touchdown and a 2-point conversion. When the late touchdown, for my money, never should have happened. We are not going to have to talk about the refs today because it's only when it benefits the Chiefs, I suppose. But that roughing the passer call on Mike Edwards was soft. And I'm not surprised that the NFL calls soft roughing the passer penalties, even though Mahomes cannot buy one. Whatever, fine. That's cool. But if you tend to agree that was a bad call on the roughing penalty, this is either a shutout or the Broncos kick a wave the white flag field goal in that spot after Russ got sacked. Would have made it really hard to convert on 4th and forever. But if you're still trying to win the football game there, you go for it on 4th and forever. The Chiefs, the way things have been going, let's say they get a stop. Now we're talking about this being a shutout victory for the Chiefs against, again, compared to last year, a slightly upgraded Broncos offense. Chris Jones is a monster. George Karlaftis continues to affect plays in different ways. Batting the ball down is just something this defensive line does well, and it's been that way since Joe Cullen got to town, which is a cool thing to just have be a part of it. You get turnovers, plural, in a way that should put your offense in good positions, that does put your defense with the best way to end a drive. You force 3 turnovers and give up 8 points. How is a game even close? How is it stressful in the fourth quarter? How does it a one-possession game in the fourth quarter when your defense gives you that? I'm going to take a pessimist's slant on something here. Then I'll take the other side, and then we can spend the rest of the show figuring out if the angel or the devil wins this one. But here's something that I don't think is an opinion. I think this is statistically accurate. Because Aaron Schatz tweeted this out last week that the Broncos' defense was measured as the worst defense since DVOA dates back to, which I actually think they've mentioned this in the pregame show on Amazon. I think that somebody said it went back to like the 80s. I don't know how far back they've kind of retroactively done DVOA. But through 4 and then again through 5 weeks of the season, and with a good, imperfect, but a rich catch-all type of stat like DVOA, the Denver Broncos defense was the worst defense in modern NFL history through 4 weeks and 5 weeks. There was the stat that was going around the last couple of days that Patrick Mahomes had never faced a last-place scoring defense. And like we talked about earlier today in the zone, it's weird that today's Thursday. Even if you took away the Dolphins game, just erased it from history, the Broncos would, I think, at that point be the 28th worst scoring defense in the NFL. If you just take away those 70 points and replace it with a shutout. And a Chiefs offense that has had legitimate questions show up about their production, their ability of their pass catchers to separate, their ability on short yardage situations on 3rd and 4th downs, their execution in the red zone. On that day, against that defense, when Mahomes finally got to face a final last place scoring defense across from him, they put up 19 points, and it felt difficult. They scored 19 points, and their leading scorer was Harrison Butker. Isaiah Pacheco and Travis Kelsey had tremendous games. A 3-yard Kadarius Toney touchdown was the only time a Chiefs player carried the ball into the end zone. And worse still, they were close and could not finish. Time and time and time again. Harrison Butker's field goals were 35 yards. 60 yards. A boot. 60 yards and with juice left on a windy night. 25 yards. And 52. The last one was 52 because the offense couldn't give him an easier shot to ice the game. The 60-yarder apparently doesn't happen if Sean Payton doesn't, for God knows what reason, call his last time out before the Broncos punt the football away. I don't know if he thought there was a better chance the Chiefs would muff the punt than they would get into field goal range, If someone was hurt, you got to use a timeout to just get them off the field. That was never addressed. Matt Derrick, we'll talk to you later on, tweeted that it looked like to him that the Chiefs were content to let that game go to halftime. But the Broncos call a timeout, punt it, the Chiefs get into field goal range and get 3 points, and Harrison Butker kicks that absolute tank. Without a gift from Sean Payton, this game's 13-8 in the fourth quarter. And at this point, I'm almost numb to it, but I know I shouldn't be. But I'm almost there. Andy Reid just has absolutely no interest whatsoever in letting Patrick Mahomes make a play in short yardage. It's infuriating. And there are degrees to this. So here's where my little reasonable, the reasonable angel on my shoulder. Sometimes you do weird bleep early in the year, and I mentioned this again on The Zone this morning too, that Kevin Clark's podcast on ESPN, he had Mitchell Schwartz on as a guest this week, and they talked a little bit about that finding your identity through the first 6 weeks kind of thing, and Mitch said you're not really holding stuff back, but you will put stuff on tape so other teams have to deal with it. Look, the Chiefs are trying to make opposing defenses think about Kadarius Toney and the Wildcat, but I think about it more often than I think most defenses do because I do it out of frustration. Opposing defenses just appear to say, well, just follow Kadarius Toney, because if he gives that ball to Isaiah Pacheco, it was a great call by Herb Street in the moment. He said Kadarius Toney made his decision before the snap. He decided he wanted to keep this football. If he hands it to Isaiah Pacheco, that's a first down, but he didn't. He kept it and got smothered. They line up for what would have been another bleeping field goal in the red zone. And Tommy Townsend comes up for the tush push. What are we doing? What are we doing? Honest to goodness, what are we doing? I think it was Lucas Niang and Tommy Townsend trying to push Noah Gray on, hear me on this one, okay? I know we've had a lot of fun with the tush push, the brotherly shove. They line up for a field goal on 4th and 2 from the Broncos' 6-yard line. They do all their little motion and direct snap it. When long snapper James Winchester becomes your center, instead of Creed Humphrey, your ball carrier is Noah Gray. And your big, bulky backs trying to push him are the punter and your third or fourth tackle. How in any way whatsoever is that the play? And Dylan made a good call in real time. There was a gap there in the Broncos field goal defense. Maybe the Chiefs saw it on tape and said, hey, we can exploit that. The Broncos filled it in a second because they knew what was coming when Noah Gray went under center. To that point, the Chiefs, that was the third drive of the game for the Chiefs offense. They got to the Denver 17, the Denver 16, and the Denver 5. They left those 3 drives with 3 points. I'm sorry, that's not a healthy offense against a defense that was ripe to be have at least a 30-point performance. I was going to say a 30 burger, but you don't get to claim a burger for 30. 40 burger, 50 burger. Dolphins put up a 70 burger. Thursday night games are weird. It's a short week, all of that. Yeah, I know. I kept that in mind when I said the Chiefs needed to put up 30 today, or this is going to sound like a post-game show. And that's a bit of an exaggeration. The Chiefs' offense looks worse now than it did when the NFL, quote, solved them, or when Patrick Mahomes was, quote, broken a couple years back. This might be the most frustrating version of the Chiefs' offense since Patrick Mahomes got here. I don't know if he doesn't trust his weapons or if these receivers haven't earned it yet. Rashid Rice had a couple nice moments. I think Kadarius Toney is a number 1 wide receiver when he's on the field. Not the number 1 quarterback who should be getting a lot of direct snap action at this point, but you have a head coach that just has no interest in leaving the offense on the field unless he absolutely has to, which could change in January, and it has before. But I don't understand why that doesn't ever kick in sooner. Because here's the other part, and then we'll start taking some calls. We'll hear from Reid and Mahomes and everybody else we get from Arrowhead. But this, not only was this a get-right opportunity, they were running their trick plays. Travis Kelsey's pitching the ball in the middle of a play. They're showing their special teams little treats and their Wildcats. And if your take right now is that it will look different in January, we're putting a lot of stake in that. We got a lot of faith in, they'll figure it out. And if that's a bet on Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey, I agree with you. But those three guys are all involved right now. And the offense looks laborious. It looks like Mahomes has three options on every play. Travis Kelsey, 1. Isaiah Pacheco, 2. Himself, 3. And that's with me really liking Rashid Rice. That's with me thinking that Justin Ross might have gotten so much as a target in this game, which I don't believe he did. I don't know how many snaps he played, despite the fact that Justin Watson left late with ultimately an elbow injury and looked horrendous. So we'll get an injury update from Andy Reid, but hope Justin Watson is some form of okay. That was a rough sequence to watch. But the Chiefs' offense just scored 1 touchdown against the worst NFL defense in modern recorded history. We are at NBA levels of they'll figure it out for the playoffs. And that's not with load management of Travis Kelsey. That's with Travis Kelsey being the only thing consistent in this offense. The good news is the Chiefs are 5-1 and have not played a great game of football against anyone other than the Chicago Bears. That's the good news. The good news is they're the number 1 seed in the AFC, and we can all watch Red Zone on Sunday and not even wonder about where the Chiefs are going to stand. If the Chargers win, then they can put some more juice into next week. The Chiefs will have a couple extra days. The Chiefs are going to win the AFC West, and right now they're in a great spot to be the 1 seed in the AFC. First round bye, host the AFC Championship game, all of that. But I don't like feeling like I've seen the future. And I don't want to be here in December and January talking about how, well, in the AFC Championship game against the Bills, Andy Reid's really going to have it figured out. That's when Sky Moore is going to break out. I don't think that's a good bet. So still on some level, I do believe that the Chiefs' offense is going to figure some things out, that the young receivers will continue to develop, that Rashid Rice, who had a nice game today with that big play towards the end, there's going to be good stuff, and this is a very good football team, and the defense is awesome. But I don't know who to trust on offense, and I don't know that the Chiefs do either. Dylan, you can give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, but I feel like it's a late night show. We got a lot of commercial breaks that we need to hit, and if we take one right now, we can come back, take some calls, and then start to hear live from Arrowhead. It seems like everything out there is up and running. You good with us taking an early break? Look, I mean, if Sean Payton can call a timeout for no reason right before the start of halftime, I can take a little early timeout myself. Yeah, I feel like, look, I mean, this show is nothing if not poorly coached and poorly executed.
Always.
Doesn't score very often.
Almost never.
But is incredibly defensive. Hey, you know what? We got some things in common. We'll take a timeout. If you're on hold now, we will try to blaze through a whole bunch of calls when we get back. It's a full phone board. I know people have a lot of thoughts on this shocking, weird game that the Kansas City Chiefs have played. It's a 19-8 victory. Probably not scoregami, but not one I've seen in recent memory. A dominant and underwhelming win for the Chiefs. Our expectations are high. The Chiefs have set them there. We'll continue to talk about that. We'll take your calls and hear the pressers from Arrowhead when we come back on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show.
Wilson in the pocket, step and throw. He floats it to the right side. It's caught by Pirine. He loses the football and recovered by Kansas City. McDuffie knocked it free, and Willie Gay on the recovery. And that's all she wrote.
Trent McDuffie has been fantastic this season, and that is our sweet play of the game, brought to you by Andy's Frozen Custard. A thunderous hit introducing Cannoli Thunder Concrete at Andy's Frozen Custard. This Italian stallion of flavors is made with fresh vanilla frozen custard, crispy cannoli shells, sweet cream filling, and chocolate chips. Go to eatandys.com for the location nearest you. The Chiefs victorious today, although again I said earlier this week that if this was not a 30-point performance from the offense, this might feel like a post-game show after a loss. They didn't break 20, so that's weird. Against the worst defense by points allowed in the NFL this season, one of the worst defenses in modern NFL history, depending on what metrics you choose from. It wasn't a loss, though. Honestly, a lost post-game show would have had significantly worse vibes. The Chiefs are 5-1, alone at the top of the AFC. That's all great. But they couldn't do bleep in the red zone, with one exception. And the defense is fabulous. The offense clearly still has some things to work on. We'll go out to Arrowhead in a little bit, but in the meantime, I want to take the calls of everybody who's been waiting on so far. We'll open it up with Bo. Bo, you're on the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show. How you feeling?
Hey, what's up, man? First-time caller, but I was arguing with Seren over this week. These receivers, it's like a help wanted. It says, please, if you could get separation, do apply. And the other thing is, this offensive line, they got so much money tied up in and stuff. It's just not, what you expected for what you're paying for. But I was telling Seren, I think they need to go after either a Zach Ertz, Hollywood Brown, or a Hunter Renfrow, or a Devontae Adams, somebody that can get some type of separation to help this offense, because it just looks bad. And Valdez-Scantling Jr., the dude he cost you on that 68-yard pass to McKinnon. The dude is not productive. He's the highest-paid receiver. If you go after Nicole Hardman or somebody like that, it could do something like that and help the team out. But these receivers are just not stacking up to anything. I'll listen off the air, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, Bo, I appreciate your call. Thanks for being a first-time caller with us here. Before you had even gotten through the wide receiver discussion, Bo, I had MVS's Pro Football Reference page up because I did want to go back and circle through this because I think you're onto something. This year, Marquez Valdez-Scantling has 7 receptions for 116 yards, and that was just his stat line, not including tonight. Let me do the math, and... Yep, 7 catches for 116 yards because he didn't bring one in tonight. That blindside block penalty was weak, but it's the only time we saw him or heard his name in a meaningful way tonight. I don't know what to do with MVS. I got to watch a little bit of the game with the Prime Vision thing, and I do think there's something to be said about stretching a defense deep, making a safety respect somebody there, that MVS was brought in to do that. But you can't possibly be happy with your highest paid receiver being an expensive decoy that's pacing for like a 400-yard season. That's untenable. So I think you're right about that. The offensive line's also a good thing to mention. We'll circle back on that one. We'll hear from the rest of the calls in a moment, but Isaiah Pacheco just came up to the podium.
Nick, on the return, coming back, the interception.
Yeah.
Nick Bolton here live from Arrowhead. Nick Bolton from the podium.
Yeah, I feel like me coming back this week, man, was a little bit up and down. Again, I think I had a little sloppy tackling. I cleaned that up, but I think that's just not going to rust off. But overall, as a defense, man, I'm excited for where we're going. Keep trending in the right direction. Guys getting more comfortable playing with each other. And yes, executing the game plan. Guys know everybody's going to be in the right spot at the right time. Everybody's flying to the football, and the most important thing, we're having fun while we're doing it. We keep that up every single week, and we'll be special.
Nick, you were finishing the last game you played. Just what went on to realize that it wasn't going to hold up and you ended up missing the times generally?
Yeah, man. I kind of just felt my ankle messed up a little bit. I kind of feel like I gutted through that game. I kind of went back, looked at the MRI and stuff, and just I just had an ankle sprain. So just kind of just moving around on it, trying to get comfortable. And I wasn't ready until this week. I tried to get a go last week. So I moved around a little bit, just didn't feel good on the turf. So I came back this week and I kind of gave it a go, and it felt great. So if I can keep this going every single week, man, I'll be pretty good.
You're 100% now.
Yeah.
Nick, what were the things you saw from the defense?
Yep.
What were the things you saw from the defense at camp that let you know you guys were going to play this way when the season started?
Yeah, man. I think it kind of helps when you play football for a very long time. You only get two months off, so everything's kind of pretty much fresh in your mind. Everybody's used to where everybody's supposed to be at, and then guys coming back playing the same scheme, same positions. So everybody's playing a little bit faster than they were last year. I kind of feel like that kind of attests to everybody's offseason, caring about the product on the football field, and also our coaches, man. They kind of dive in full-fledged all summer, all training camp, all OTAs, and create a plan for us to go out there and be successful.
You were out for 3 days, but you trashed with Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Really just on linebacker court.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see while you were out that showed you that they were playing the way that they were?
Yeah, I kind of saw everything I saw in camp. OTAs, everybody's willing to learn. Everybody going out there trying to execute the game plan, and ultimately, everybody in our linebacker room wants to win. So they're going to do everything they can in their part to get to that point, regardless of what it takes. And that's what our group is about. That's what we embody, and that's what we try to execute every single day.
Nick, what were you doing to make things so difficult for Russell Wilson tonight?
Yeah, I think Coach Pat did a great job of mixing up looks. Able to get him in 3rd and longs. In the first half, 3rd and 2 and 3s kind of gets kind of difficult to try to heat him up a little bit or try to get 4-man rush and let Chris and the rest of the D-line go to work. So I think we kind of did better in the second half, giving him 2nd and long, 3rd and long, let our D-line do their thing. Ultimately, getting our DBs getting hands on wideouts and throwing out their time, and I think that was huge today.
What did you see in particular on your interception?
Yeah, actually, we played the Vikings last week. We kind of missed that route. We call it cafe. So running back to the flat, got a curl and got a vertical route. We kind of missed it a little bit, by 2 or 3 yards, and I just knew that play was going to come. Short week, kind of guys just trying to make sure that they hit plays we weren't good at. So I saw the same picture, same play, and I was able to get in that window, make the play.
Nick, how do you feel when against an AFC rival, AFC West rival, you get the Broncos every year?
Yeah, man, I think it's huge. We understand what it takes to win in this league. Also, we understand how important it is to play home field, have home field advantage all playoffs. And it starts this week. We got another one coming up next week, and we're just trying to hold on home field. We understand what we can do with our fans, and Patrick what he does when he's at home. So, as much as we can, we're going to try to get home games here and win the division. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think we got at least about 4 or 5 starters in our room. Just guys come in every single day, execute, can fly around to the football, get guys in line, and also just communicate as linebackers. And this game is kind of difficult to be able to communicate, get everybody checked up, and then also doing your job. But those guys, man, since training camp, OTAs, they kind of just pride themselves and want to learn, want to evolve themselves mentally on learning the scheme. And so, those guys come in every single day. I didn't expect anything else from them. Again, they gave me all the confidence in the world, man, every single week that we got it, man. Just get healthy. So they let me do that, and our defense, our linebacker room, man, is just going to be special going forward.
Anyone else?
Yeah, thank you.
There you go, Nick Bolton live from Arrowhead. May hop right back out there for some more pressers. May hop back over to the phones. Everybody hold tight for a second. In the meantime, I wanted to finish the point that Bo made earlier about the wide receivers and trading for a target. I don't fundamentally disagree. I kind of practically disagree because I don't know if any of those options are going to help the Chiefs' current problem, which is right now they got a lot of number 3 and number 4 pass catcher types, and they need someone to evolve to a higher level than that. I'd be very open to a return from McCole Hardman for either as a free agent or for like a late future conditional pick swap or whatever. I just don't know. Hollywood Brown's kind of fun. I don't know. I'm not sure I see there being an acquirable option that would really change things. Bo mentioned Devontae Adams. I kind of tweeted about him a little bit tongue-in-cheek wise watching the Raiders game this week. A big splash would be a blast. A lot of the smaller, less substantial moves would. I don't know if adding a new pass catcher into this group makes that much better. If the Patriots are done with Juju, I'd call. That part of that issue was multi-years, guaranteed money. Well, the Patriots took care of all that. If they're done with Juju, he was just in this offense. Mahomes trusts him. He knows the timing. He understands the ethos of this offense. Juju Smith-Schuster might be the one that I go ahead and I say, all right, that one is feasible and helpful without necessarily taking work away from Rashid Rice, who I want to see get as many snaps as possible. That might take snaps from Sky Moore, but I'm a little less bullish on that experiment than I am on the Rashid Rice one at this point. And meanwhile, there's still, a ton of snaps being given to him and MVS without them being terribly productive. Nice to see Sky have a chain-moving catch late in the game, but 2 for 22, it's just... The Chiefs spent the offseason talking about Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney as their kind of number one receiver options, and I think it's Rashid Rice, and I don't know that it's that close. I love Kadarius Toney. They're just not really using him that way, so we'll see where he ends up. Dylan, any rustling out there from Arrowhead yet? All right, so it looks quiet enough. Let's hop into the calls here, and I'll try to keep it quick. Gary, if I cut you off, I apologize, sir. What's on your mind?
Well, just watching the game, and I was having flashbacks. I couldn't tell if it was the 1990s Kansas City Chiefs or the Alex Smith-led Kansas City Chiefs, because you could pick your poison on which one you're watching. Patrick Mahomes is putting up Alex Smith-type numbers right now. You're making too much money to be putting up numbers like that. These guys are supposed to be getting better around you. We're 6 weeks into the season, and we're not seeing any improvement, and there isn't going to be any improvement from these guys. You see a flash here and there from Rashid Rice. Everybody else, they're nothing. Everybody, we got Justin Watson. Justin Watson's not going to be a guy that's going to have 6 or 7 catches for a buck every week. He's going to be a guy that's going to make a play here, make a play there. It's not going to be anything consistent. Sky Moore, they got to do gadget plays just to get him open.
Yeah.
And then Kadarius Toney, here's an idea if you're going to run the ball, turn your shoulder square to the line of scrimmage so you can actually get upfield instead of running parallel with it. I just don't understand watching these guys. I mean, and I don't want anybody blaming any play calling. It's not play calling. It's lack of talent. The X's and the O's, Jimmys and the Joes too, and we have no Jimmys and Joes on this offense. I mean, the schedule's going to start getting tougher. Teams are going to go after Kelsey knowing that he's the only option, and everything we can do is short to intermediate. Defenses know they can come up and play us. It's ridiculous. And defensively, they were good tonight, but they got pushed around on defense. I mean, the Broncos ran the ball on them. They didn't. If the Broncos would have stuck with that run, this game could have been a lot different too, because I think this defense is vulnerable to the run, and I think the Broncos were the more physical team tonight, but we did come out on top, and most importantly, we did cover. But just tell me, am I wrong when I think I'm watching either a 90s version or an Alex Smith-led Chiefs team? I'll hang up and listen. Great show, Josh.
Gary, I appreciate you, and I'm not going to let you say that the Chiefs defense got pushed around the night they had 3 turnovers and gave up 8 points, but I hear you on the ground game thing. The Broncos, I think, would have made sense for them to try to commit to that a tiny bit more with the way their pass game wasn't going, in part because the secondary is very good. But I'll let you have it and say that, no, I don't think that anybody can look at this Chiefs receiving core and say they've got Jimmys and Joes or dudes. I think Rashid Rice has that potential. The potential is different than having arrived. I think at this point we're talking about Sky Moore as a solid role player, as like the hope. I don't know what to do with MVS. Like I'm not going to predict a breakout game. I'm not taking any of his overs until he does it for a little bit, a few games in a row. I don't know how he's being used, if it's different than in the past or if he's just not beating anybody. But unless you think that Patrick Mahomes has gotten significantly worse at football, it's his surroundings here. And I think it's interesting. I'm not really looking to blame the play calling in sort of the larger offensive sense. I will blame the in-game decisions by Andy Reid in plenty of instances. But it would be really, really hard for me to say you're objectively wrong when you say this wide receiving core has a lot to prove still. Next up, we go to George. George, talk us back from the ledge a little bit. How you feeling?
Well, if you had 8 and 9 in your squares, you did good today.
Yeah, no kidding. And if you're not a Cowboys fan, you did good today.
I wasn't even going to go there.
I'm sorry. You volunteered it so freely last week. I let you go to watch Sunday Night Football.
Supposedly I had something to do.
You did. The Cowboys didn't.
Well, as someone said in one of the ESPN broadcasts, the Rangers scored more than the Cowboys that same night.
Well, I'm sorry that you had to watch that.
No, I watched both, but I was okay. Go Rangers. Okay, so everybody basically has taken my thunder on the lack of separation of the receivers, on the inability of the offense to keep Mahomes within the pocket. I know he loves to get out of the pocket, but look at all the Travis Kelsey catches. Every one of them was because Mahomes got out of the pocket.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you can't protect him for more than 3 seconds, what's he going to do?
Gonna leave that pocket because that pocket's not there anymore.
And that's the calamity that I believe is the issue. The defense is good. Offense can be better, but they're solid enough. But remember when we thought that the Jets were solid enough to lose big, and they still kept plugging away and plugging away. I don't like it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. All I'm going to go back to is we've got the Eagles, we've got the Dolphins, we've got the Bills. You know, they're coming up. You can't rely on the Raiders being this bad again. You really can't. You can't rely on the Broncos to being this bad again. 27 points is the most without the Bears game. It's just where is the offense? I cannot hope that this is the best we can do.
Yeah.
We're 2 points better than we were against the Jaguars, and the Jaguars were 1 point better than the Broncos.
Wow. Yep, that's right.
There's your thought for the next 6 weeks, sir.
I'm gonna have to meditate on that. I appreciate you, George.
You bet.
Good luck. Good luck with the Cowboys bouncing back. I hate to hear George sad, but I don't mind it when the Cowboys lose. It's I contain multitudes. That's the thing with the offense. I legitimately believe the Chiefs can win the Super Bowl with the roster that's currently constructed. I think Patrick Mahomes could probably run for 80 yards in an AFC Championship game and 2 touchdowns, and that might be enough. But it's been a persistent issue, and this is the worst defense you're going to see, with the exception of 2 weeks from now when you see this defense again. You saw the Bears and put up 40. You went 19 against the Broncos today. And again, it's not just the final score. It's not just the results that matter. It's the process. They were bad on short yardage. They were bad with their short yardage decisions. They were bad in the red zone. And if those things continue, their season will end earlier than it should. Next up, we got Travis. Travis, you're on 810. What's up, man? How you feeling?
Hey, man, I am not feeling very good. So I'm going to disagree with the caller that said that he didn't think it was the play calling. I'm not saying it's all in the play calling. Andy Reid did not have a good night tonight.
That's true.
And you can say that it's not play calling, but the 23-yard slant pass to Rashid Rice looked incredible, and then we didn't see Rashid Rice for another almost half of football. So
Isaiah Pacheco was running the ball pretty well up the middle, and then we did not see very much of that the rest of the game either.
Correct. I think using MVS just to take the top off, that is just – I just don't understand why. I know why it's important, but you're going to pay that guy that much money. Something else that I noticed it last week. Last week. And I noticed it the Jets game and again tonight. Mahomes is getting more and more frustrated every week.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's good. You do not want to – it's clear that Brett Veach and Andy Reid and the powers that be have bought in a little bit too much. Not that they shouldn't. I mean, he's the greatest football player ever, I think. But he can't do it all. He literally can't do it. And if Kelsey's not doing anything and if Pacheco's not doing anything, he is all on his own.
Yeah.
I think another issue is the offensive line, I don't think has played particularly well. I think our tackles are not good. On the sack that he took there at the end, I'd have to go back and look at it, but it looks like Trey Smith has to lean over and help out Jawan Taylor. I think it was Jawan Taylor on the right side, and that's what freed up the gap for that guy to come straight through. I think that's why we're seeing more and more pressure up the middle is because they're having to help the left and right tackles constantly. This offense will not – I'm being honest. Like I'm not trying to be overly dramatic, but this is week 6, and they have not improved at all. If that is the case, we will not win a boat race against the Chargers or against the Bills or the Bengals or the Eagles Like, if this is how it's going to be, it is going to be a very early season for us. Not saying that we won't make the playoffs. I think we will. But I am going to disagree with you. The way the offense is right now, I don't think there's any way in the world they can win the Super Bowl with – the offense is average. Can you believe that we're saying that about a Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid-led offense, that it's average at best right now?
Travis, I appreciate the call, and you made a bunch of good points. And I think the thing there is exactly the frustrating, disconcerting part. It looks normal. You watch the Chiefs' offense tonight, it didn't look a ton different than the Broncos' offense. The Broncos' offense had a few more turnovers, a couple more turnovers to be precise, and one touchdown. The Broncos didn't wave the white flag as much as the Chiefs did in terms of the short yardage stuff. But you're going to watch football on Sunday, and you're going to see a bunch of offenses that look similar to what you saw from the Chiefs tonight. And that is the standard that we're holding the Chiefs to, because they have one of the greatest offensive minds in football history coaching them, and the greatest quarterback currently living playing quarterback for them. And the greatest tight end of all time being the one and only fully reliable pass-catching option. It's tough. It's a rough scene. Dylan, still good over there? I got time to sneak in one more call. I'm going to do that because Zach's been on hold for a minute. Zach, appreciate you waiting on hold, my friend. What's going on?
Hey, I'll try and be quick, Josh, but all these conversations make me think of a tweet that I saw the other day from a Chargers fan account retweeting somebody complaining about the Chiefs not doing well, and it said, "This is the NFL equivalent of a Nepo baby talking about the struggles of growing up rich."
Totally
I definitely
fair.
think that's true because, guys, we are 5-1. We have a top 5 defense. Like, give me a break. If the biggest issue at the end of the day is that Andy Reid is, taking play calls from Make-A-Wish kids and, running crazy wildcats on 3rd and 1 instead of giving the ball to the best player in the NFL, that's going to get figured out at some point. Andy's going to get it figured out. The wide receivers, we already are starting to see better. Look at Rice. He is consistently getting better every single time. And Travis Kelsey is Travis Kelsey. If we can keep Kelsey and Rice and Pacheco injury-free, and if Andy Reid can pull his head out of wherever it is right now and wherever it goes on 3rd and 1, we're going to be okay. Think of the interception. That was points taken away. Think of us, instead of running a 4th and 1 behind a 302-pound Creed Humphrey, we ran it behind a 209-pound Winchester. We might get that next time if we go with the 302-pound All-Pro.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, it was really frustrating, but when they were kind of in the middle of the field, they were driving at will, and they should. It was a terrible defense, and they weren't scoring. But they weren't scoring because they were hurting themselves. Those are fixable things. Andy Reid was, drawing up some sort of crazy plays because he knew he could. He knew this was a game that we were going to win anyway, and I hate that we kind of approached it that way, but it is what it is because it's only weird games, and that's whatever we play for some reason. But when we get to serious teams, the play calling is going to be more serious. The receivers are going to have a little bit more experience under their belt. They are going to continue to improve because, like I said, Rice with almost 80 yards, that's the most he's had so far. He's going to get better. I'm excited to see where this goes. Chill out, guys. We're going to be okay. The play calling is crap, but Andy Reid is one of the best play callers in history. It will get better. Thanks, and have a good night.
Hey, I appreciate it very much, Zach. Appreciate the Great Taste in Podcasts also. I think it's a pretty good comp to say this is Nepo babies complaining about how hard life is, but also that is the weight of expectation. That is the challenge of all of this. When you have a ceiling that you expect to be higher and you keep hitting your head on a 4-foot ceiling, it is frustrating. The defense being this great is hilarious because you're right. Think about the inverse. If this was a team that was supposed to be built on defense and you just needed an offense to scrape by, if this was the Jets, if the Chiefs were the Jets, You'd be thrilled with this elite defense that can win you a championship as long as this offense can score enough. And tonight they scored enough. I just don't want the Chiefs to feel like the Jets. That's me being the Nepo baby a little bit. And I'm willing to accept that. You're listening to the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show here on Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. I'm Joshua Brisco. Dylan Michaels on the other side of the glass. Covell Hudson producing as well. We'll take a timeout. We're going to come back. We'll take the calls that are on hold right now, and then we have a ton of audio from Arrowhead coming through from our own Nate Bukaty, getting to catch up with a bunch of dudes in the locker room, plus Harrison Butker. What was the list there, Dylan? I have a few of these from Nate also. Rashid Rice, Justin Reed, Trent McDuffie, Willie Gay, Harrison Butker. That's going to be the group that we work through over the course of the evening. Plus, again, we'll keep taking your calls on the other side of this timeout here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show.
Play action. Good pocket. Intercepted at the 42-yard line. Nick Bolton right there, intended for Jerry Jeudy, and down to the end zone they go. That defense to celebrate. Wilson threw it right to him, and KC gets it. 3-0 Chiefs.
That was a heck of a play from Nick Bolton. It's our defensive play of the game, brought to you by Schlegel Fence. Schlegel Fence, as Kansas City's preferred fence company, has been serving the KC metro areas for over a decade, offering security and style. Call 816-863-6159 or go to schlegelfence.com for your free estimate. Don't need an estimate on the Chiefs defense. They were fantastic tonight against average to below average test. The thing we've spent most of the time talking about today, though, has been the fact that against the worst defense in football, the Chiefs put up 19 points. Let's see which side of the ball Dan would like to start on. Dan, appreciate you waiting on hold, my friend. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, Joshua. It was a great game tonight by the defense. The offense did just enough to get ahead, and they banged our touchdown, the Tony and the interception on Nick Bolton on Russell Wilson. And I agree with you, Joshua. The offense will just get better, and I don't mind the Wildcat, if it works, fine. But just give it to Mahomes and make a call run plays. And I agree with what you said about Juju. He never should have left the Chiefs in the first place. If the Patriots keep losing, I would welcome Juju back. So let's have the fun and take care of the Chargers in 2 weeks. Scary stuff, Joshua.
Dan, I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. Look, I like having a little bit of the positivity that can come with the good things here. It's just there's a lot of moving parts, man. We got to figure out exactly what this team is, and it's still October right now, but these months in the NFL move fast. So figuring out where it all lands will be an ongoing process. Next up here, we got Jerry here on Sports Radio 810. Jerry, what's on your mind?
Good evening, guys. It was a fun game for me. I enjoyed all of it. I don't have all the gripes that everyone would have about the offense and all that stuff. I'd like to make 3 statements, though. Kadarius Toney, remember the play where he tried to do the pass?
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot that happened.
That was a good one. I mean, I had no problem with that. It was kind of a mess-up with presenting from Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which practice will make that better, and I think it was almost like a preseason game with the first starters. It made it to be like, I don't know. They were trying gadget plays.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a few gadget plays, but one of the things I saw that really, it started at the beginning. It was Travis Kelsey's left-handed backward pass to Noah Gray for a first down. They only ended up with a field goal off the deal, but that made the whole game for me. And then whenever they did pan up to Taylor, I told Sharon I wouldn't bring her up again, but when I saw the Queen Mum talking with her and I was reading her lips, I seen the Queen Mum say something, I have to see it. And what is it? It made me go, I wonder what it is. But no, Travis did really well. I wish they could have gave him one more pass for 76 yards and he could have had 200.
I would have loved a nice little 76-yard completion, Jerry. I appreciate your call as always, man. Whoop, sorry, I hit the. I think we're in the goodbyes. I don't mean to cut you off, but I appreciate that very much. I'm sorry. I'm a little confused because hey, man, if you wanted to be on the show, you could just come back. So Dylan just said there's a bearded Celtics fan on line 7. Bearded Celtics fan on line 7. You're on the air.
Well, I was hoping we'd be able to talk about Drew Holiday, but that, I guess, a week or so too late.
What on earth are you doing, Beards? Why are you calling the show?
I was playing Starfield, and, after watching the game at work, I actually had thoughts.
Share your takes, Beards. This is incredible.
So how many people have you had call about wide receivers tonight?
I was keeping track. Track here. Hold on. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 callers before you. I had the first 4 definitely were all pretty slanted negative to the receivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I fall in line more with that, but I do want to bring it back to this point. So, do you remember the show that we did last year? Jason was gone. It was after the Texans game, but it was, I guess, before the Broncos game, and I had the point of I think this Chief offense is pretty average, and they're probably not a Super Bowl caliber offense. And then, of course, they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's that level. I don't think they're at that just yet. I actually listened this week to Only Weird Games.
This is unbelievable. Beards must be drunk.
Incredible. And Nate, I think, got close to this point where he was talking about, like, this is probably the last good Travis Kelsey year, or at least the last exceptional Travis Kelsey year.
Yeah.
This team feels woefully underprepared for the post-Travis Kelsey era. And I don't think they're going to do anything, like, at the trade deadline to fix that. I don't think they're going to get any big wide receiver. So I'm curious as to how they do fix that. Yeah. But I have no idea how they do that. But it's not my favorite.
It's been your strongest serious Chiefs take since the moment they traded Tyreek Hill. I feel like this is incredible vindication for you. This is
it's not great. I know Rudy and I are big Rashid Rice people. And I know who wants what tight end? The Brock Bowers, is that it?
Yeah, I'd like Brock Bowers. I would like that very much too.
That would be interesting. But I have no idea what they do to fix it. I'd like them to go get somebody in the draft. Like, don't worry, like, trade up, go into, like, the teams or something, and just get a dude that you can stick next to Mahomes for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I would also love that.
It would be nice.
This is really weird.
I know.
People don't know this. Beards and I actually have not communicated at all since he quit. So this is the first time I've heard his voice in like a year almost now, I think. How do you think Dylan's doing producing?
I think he's doing pretty good.
We just figured out Covell is the best audio cutter I think we've ever had. At least we've adjusted some things, and he is absolutely crushing it there. I think Dylan's actually found his sweet spot behind the board. So if you just missed this, we might be able to, I don't know, I could probably find a couple of liners for you to work on or something. Maybe you could help cut down some locker room audio.
You don't want me to co-host?
You know what? I do very much. In a primetime late night Thursday night football weird game with an unfulfilling offensive performance against the Broncos is truly the time I think we would need you most. I think you actually must have seen the bat signal / beard signal up in the sky.
I just remembered one thing more I was going to say.
Hell yeah. Rip it.
You mentioned earlier that you think Kadarius Toney's a wide receiver one.
When he's on the football field, I do.
I don't think the Chiefs do.
That's my exact concern.
It feels like every time they go to him, it feels like it's just one of the gadget plays.
Yeah. So. It's the same way it feels when they go to Sky Moore, but when it goes to Kadarius Toney, there's like a payoff.
Is there?
Yeah. He had some tough yards last week and moved the chains some, and the touchdown was not, an incredible bit of route running or whatever. But I think we're gonna have a Kadarius Toney game. I just hope it's in the playoffs again.
That would be nice.
I would like that very much.
Okay.
How's Starfield?
I'm going to go shoot some more aliens.
Dylan, if you'll mark that, and that can make it, if we can make that into the cuts tomorrow, if Jason's done, he said he'd listen while he's like working on show prep stuff to a certain point, right? I don't know if we're to the point of Jason going to bed or not, but if he didn't hear this and we can just play any portion of this in the cuts tomorrow, I think his head may fall off his shoulders. So you might be liable for that, Beards, but it will be hilarious.
I need to get more credits because I need to upgrade my second spaceship. I ran out of money trying to make it better.
Can you try to acquire a number one wide receiver, please?
I'll do it when the Chiefs do.
Thanks, Beards.
See ya.
The most unlikely cameo of 2023. Beards McFly had Chiefs takes.
I hope he can see the love and support he was receiving on the Twitch stream.
Oh.
Everyone is clamoring for him to be on the show more than just that one time.
We need to make sure that is fantastic. I am glad that the Twitch faithful.
Somebody tweeted that was more than he spoke when he was actually on the show, which is very accurate.
It's true. He needed a year to let these takes at the very least. And I mean, we got an off season and 6 weeks of football. Beards is gonna rip a real serious Chiefs take once every 6 weeks or so. That's amazing. Well, that is an absolute joy. I am thrilled. I can't believe Beards is listening, or at least was. I hope he at least got to hear the love that is apparently rained down from the video feeds. The stream that Beards built. Pretty literally. How about this? You want to hear from the man in charge? Not the man that was formerly in charge here for all of this, being Beards, but the man in charge of the Kansas City Chiefs offense. I'm very curious to hear what Andy Reid had to say about how things went in this game. The head coach press conference is brought to you by Robert Brogdon's Olathe Buick GMC and Olathe Kia, and Westlake Hardware, brought to you by Robert Brogdon's Olathe Buick GMC and Olathe Kia. Get a worry-free money-back guarantee on a new vehicle when you buy from Brogdon. Visit BrogdonAutomotive.com. And brought to you by Westlake Commercial, a division of Westlake Ace Hardware. They're your local business-to-business supply partner. Their commercial team, dedicated business-to-business website, credit terms, and convenient store locations make it easy. Visit your local Westlake Ace Hardware store or westlakehardware.com/commercial today. We'll start from the top with Andy Reid. He's got an opening statement, some injuries to give, and then perhaps the time will be ours.
All right. As far as the injuries go, Justin Watson is really the one that got hurt. Hurt his elbow. We'll just see how he does here. It's not broken, so that's a positive thing. But anyways, the crowd was phenomenal. Butker was phenomenal. He ceases to amaze me with his kicking. He's so reliable and does a great job with that. Our defense was incredible tonight, as they have been. I think at halftime they had 39 yards or so passing, and that's quite a feat. So my hat goes off to Sean and his group there. They're trying to build something right there, and that's they're working at it. And he's a good football coach. He's got a good staff and good player. So our hat goes off to them. And then offensively, we got to take care of business in the red zone. Had a lot of yards, positive yards, but you can't stall down there. You can't have penalties. You can't have fake field goal. We probably want to have that one back on the QB sneak. So, anyways, just gonna okay. All right. So with that, time's yours.
I'm not sure what that little sequence was. I have seen since that there was a leak that started through in the roof of the media room during Butker's presser, which we'll get to momentarily. So I don't know if that started. I'm not sure what was going on in the media room today. But Andy Reid, the big news there, not broken for Justin Watson, so that's good. Maybe it was just a gnarly dislocation of some sort. The thing I could see in real time was his foot just shaking like crazy, just like in pain, presumably. So whatever it was seemed deeply unpleasant. But not broken, which is a good thing. Next up here, Andy Reid asked about that sneak play and short yardage and some of those things. You'll hear the rest of the questions. But here's the next act of Andy Reid, starting off by thinking that maybe he shouldn't have called that sneak.
Yeah, I shouldn't have called that. I mean, it was 2 yards right there and probably a little bit too far. So, but we were trying to stay aggressive with it, but probably want that one back.
Anything you can identify with the red zone offense that just wasn't pieced together?
Yeah, you know what? They were playing soft on us, and I could have called some different plays, to be honest with you. So, just when teams are playing like that down there.
Always easy after a game to look at play calls that were short yardage in particular. I know it's just something you guys focused a lot on.
Yeah. We had one good one, and then came back with a not so good one. So we got to take care of business with that. Just again, I'll take that one. But that wasn't good enough.
Travis, 120 yards, always seems to have some successful games against the Broncos. Just today, what did you see out there for him that just made him so successful, especially with the ankle injury?
Yeah, no, he had over 100 yards. Pat had over 300 yards, and it kind of gets messy there because of the red zone that took place. So, but there were some really good things. Rashid, had some nice plays. But again, we've got to do better, and we'll keep working on that.
Coach, don't have the stat counts in front of me, but it seemed like you guys were playing Rashid a little bit more today. What did he do to earn that? And just
Yeah, listen, he's been getting better every week. I think you guys see that, and he's explosive, strong after the catch. So that's why.
Definitely earned increase in snaps for Rashid Rice, whatever that snap count ended up being. Continuing to honestly to force the issue with the young receivers, I think, is just mandatory. Thing there that is just a little frustrating. And Andy Reid's never going to give you like the whole truth and nothing but the truth and a presser, right? He's gonna take blame for things that aren't always his fault, and he's going to give answers that he thinks are good enough for the time being without, fully opening up the binder and saying, here's everything that we're working on right now. But he says they shouldn't have called that sneak. It was 2 yards, which is too far for a tush push for a team that's never done one, with one of your pushers being Tommy Townsend and the guy in the middle, most importantly, not being Creed Humphrey, but being James Winchester. We'll ask Kendall Gammon in the zone tomorrow if long snappers are ready for that moment. But they shouldn't have called that because it was 2 yards, which is too far for that sneak, but they wanted to stay aggressive. Does anyone else see the problem with that line of thinking leading to that result and play call? A really cool thing you could do aggressively would be to leave the ball in the hands of the best player in the sport. And I love Noah Gray, but I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes. You wanted to stay aggressive. I love that. Let Patrick Mahomes be aggressive. That just seems... I'm not even saying let Mahomes sneak it. I'm just saying let him be the one who takes the snap. I just really don't get it. It's the type of thing that makes me think that there's some ulterior motive. That is hey, we're just not going to use our best short yardage plays because we want to save them for December and January. Or we really, really, really wanted to get this. Dylan just went to prayer hands and mouthed hopefully to the heavens. Or is it, hey, we got to get this fake sneak on, this fake field goal on tape. We got to force the issue so we can do a different thing off of it next week against the Chargers. Or just make the Chargers think about it so we can... if that's the idea and you still escape with the win, then maybe it's all okay. But it's so bizarre that it makes me feel crazy for wondering if it's not pretty simple that you would just leave the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands. But I digress. Back to Andy Reid, talking more about Travis Kelsey getting open against zone, that lateral. Well, maybe Andy Reid will tell us here if that lateral was planned or not, and to some general takes on how the offense and the team together all played as a unit.
They were playing a lot of zone, soft zone, and so that's, he's good with that. He can work in those zones. I mean, they were called plays, but and he actually ran them like they were supposed to be called for the most part. Well, that was, that's something we do every day in practice. So, it didn't surprise me that it took place. That was on his own. Yeah.
Was there ever a doubt he was going to play?
No.
Andy, 5-1, going into this mini bye, you still feel like you probably played your best football. So just overall assess kind of where you are, even though a performance that, you'd still like a lot.
Yeah, well, listen, we strive for something better than what we're doing right now. And, we've got a good Charger team coming in here next, and we'll get back to the drawing board on this thing and work to get better. But I love the way Butker's playing. Tommy was phenomenal. Tommy was the one that was questionable on playing. I mean, he hurt his hamstring, and he just said, "I'm going," and my hat goes off to him. So, but we'll take the wins. They're tough to get in this league. And that's what I told the guys, but we get back and work on a few things and we'll get better, become a better team.
There's room to improve. They know that. The interesting stuff there on the Kelsey things, he actually ran most of the routes like they were supposed to be called. Andy Reid said with a little bit of, I don't think sarcasm, but just it's funny to have to provide that caveat. And also that the lateral was something we do in practice every day. But that was something that he chose to do there. It made sense. Gray was ready for it. Again, they work on that, so it's not like this total random out of nowhere thing. And if Kelsey would have done that and it would have backfired, he would have probably had a pretty unpleasant little stretch of time with Andy Reid. But you gotta let your beautiful personality show, as he and Eric Bieniemy have said, in various degrees of enthusiasm. Last chunk here from Andy Reid. Any areas of extra advantage with having the few days of extra rest before you get the Chargers, and then if there's anything on defense they'd like to tweak?
Hey, you know what? With all the technology that we have, we're able to do that weekly. We just stay right up on it. So, I mean, we'll look at the things, again, that we need work on and go through that. But with the technology you have today, it's not as much as what what it used to be. So.
Are there any areas on defense that you feel like aren't what you think they should be at this point?
Well, not tonight. I thought they did a nice job. I mean, the guys played well. We're doing okay. You got to keep getting better, though. I mean, that's how it goes.
That part's kind of fun. It's a totally fair question. It's like, hey, so he's been asking about the offense, but is there anything you want the defense to improve on? He's like, well, I mean, I guess don't give up a 2-point conversion, and that touchdown should never have happened. So really, it should have been a shutout. So not really, I guess. Now that you mention it, I guess I don't really have anything for the defense to work on. Wild, and a great development from the season so far from the team tonight. Just not quite a well-rounded win because, as you heard Andy Reid say earlier, they're always striving for something better than what they're doing right now. And right now, I don't know where those next steps are going to come from. I think that's something else to figure out in the weeks and months to come. We'll take a break here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. We'll come back, bring you more audio from Arrowhead before we later on hear from Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest. But coming up next, more locker room. We'll hear from Mahomes later on. Plenty to break down as the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show continues.
sends it to Noah Gray. One tight end to the other. Another first down.
I'm having visions, was it Nat Moore and Tony Nathan going way back to the Dolphins against the Chargers. I mean, how calm is Kelsey as he just sits there, which he always does in the zone. He just waits for his guy. You imagine them practicing that throughout the week.
Loves to.
Yeah. I mean, he's just out there having fun. He gets to be a quarterback, flip it with his left hand of all things. Perfect pitch to Noah Gray and a first down for the Chiefs.
That play was awesome. Andy Reid said it wasn't the call of the play. It's just something they've practiced plenty. We're going to go ahead and make that our Mahomes magic moment, brought to you by Champion Heating and Cooling. Maybe it's Kelsey's magic moment, but it starts with Patrick Mahomes. Keep your family warm this winter with their Champion Premium Furnace. Find your local Champion dealer at championhomecomfort.com, and don't forget to ask about their free 10-year parts and labor warranty. Always leading, never compromising, championhomecomfort.com. The Chiefs' offense usually doesn't compromise. The Chiefs today were leading for the entirety of these 60 minutes, or as I should say, from their first score on, because they didn't house the opening kickoff or anything. So outside of it being 0-0, the Chiefs were always leading in this game. But as we've covered many times now so far, with lots of calls, lots of breakdowns, hearing it from the guys at Arrowhead as well, not the offensive effort you would like to see, not the offensive effort that you're used to, and certainly not the offensive effort that pays off Mahomes' first game ever against a 32nd ranked scoring defense. But it's kind of how it seems to go sometimes. So let's hear from Patrick Mahomes. The quarterback press conference is brought to you by Kansas City area Acura dealers. As our hometown team in red marches towards another epic year, visit your Kansas City area Acura dealers to score jaw-dropping deals on new and pre-owned Acura models. Plus, get overpaid for your trade. Shop your Kansas City area Acura dealer. Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes. And starting off with the opening question here, I think is a great one. Was the Chiefs' offense up to his standard tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we did a lot of good things. Just obviously red zone, some third downs. We just didn't execute at a high enough level. I still think there was a lot of good things we can take from it. We just got to continue to get better and better. Luckily for us, our defense is playing great. So we can go through these growing pains and try to get better and better. But, I mean, the talent's there. You can see it in spurts. But we have to learn how to sustain drives, get them down the red zone, score touchdowns, and make it easier on our defense to play a little bit more free.
Patrick, at what point does – you don't get patient because it's a long season, but at what point does a sense of urgency kind of come into offense?
I mean, I think there's always a sense of urgency. I mean, I think you ask offensive guys in the locker room right now, and they're going to say that we didn't play our best. We could have done a lot of things better. But like I said, we're lucky enough that the defense is playing so good, special teams are playing so good that we can still win football games. And I still feel like at times when it's most needed, the guys are making the plays. I mean, Sky on the out route there at the end of the game, Rashid with the big catches. I mean, guys are making plays when it counts. But as we continue on the season, we have to continue to get better and better so that hopefully when we get to the playoffs, we're hitting our stride and we can really kind of match our defense as far as intensity.
Patrick, how much of Travis's
I mean, we give so much freedom to Trav that I guess all of it is called, but all of it isn't called. So, I mean, I know he's definitely not supposed to pitch the ball. That's the one I know for sure. So he does. We give him freedom. He's kind of one of those guys you can give freedom because he knows this offense like the back of his hand. So, but he did a lot of great jobs. They played a lot of zone coverages. I think you saw today. He was in zone. He can work the middle of the field, and so it hurts some of our deep game. But at the same time, whenever you have a guy like that can work in the middle of the field, it helps out a ton.
You have again there the reference for the deep game the Chiefs would like to get going, but have not really yet this year. That's been a common theme of how defenses have been playing them. Not up to their standards because of the red zone and third down issues. Mahomes mentioned this, Reid mentioned this. I think one or two of the callers may have mentioned this earlier in the show as well. The Chiefs' offense moved the ball. They just didn't score with it. And I guess I'd prefer that to the alternative of like a whole day of short fields where they're able to score, but when they have to actually drive the field, they can't do anything. Like that would be more concerning, I suppose. But man, it is a difficult thing to handicap exactly how this sets the Chiefs up for the future when you are trying to hit that stride come January. You're not going to have extra attempts to make it all happen again. You're not going to have another chance in January in a winner-go-home game against the Bills or whoever, the Dolphins, whatever. You're not going to be able to say it's growing pains. It's an interesting phrase for him to use, growing pains. Because it is, once again, we're getting the young guys involved in all of that. The other thing, though, is that, again, I don't remember seeing Justin Ross on the field very much. He didn't get a target. And I don't have any of the snap counts yet. We'll have these all in the morning when we're doing the zone. But if it's growing pains, Rashid Rice and Justin Ross had better be getting a ton of snaps. MVS not being productive isn't growing pains. He's been here, and he's a veteran. So figuring out where that fine line lands is going to be an interesting thing. You heard him talk about the Kelsey freedom in the offense and that it was not a pitch play there, as Andy Reid also said. But Mahomes was asked how he felt about Travis Kelsey's decision to pitch the ball there.
Just Travis. I mean, he knows that if he pitches it, it better work, because if he doesn't, Coach Reid's going to get on his tail. So he does it in practice, and everybody thinks he's kind of we're joking around. And then I know that he's just like seeing what he can get away with for the game.
You see the defense playing so well. Do you feel like you guys can take some more chances, or the chance that you took?
Yeah, I mean, I think the special teams one, we got close to getting that first down. Obviously, I can't throw the interception, even if it is tipped. I got to find a way to throw the ball. I was trying to throw the ball away, but to find a way to get the ball away, maybe shorter, find another person to throw it away at. But, I mean, yeah, you kind of just have to go with the game. I thought we did a great job of staying patient, getting the ball down the field, but in this league, 3 points, 7 points is just such a big difference. And so if we found a way to execute in the red zone and score those touchdowns, we'd come away feeling great. But since we didn't, we have a lot of room to improve. And so that's just something that we got to continue to work on, is just putting a full game together. I think we've had spurts of playing good in the middle of the field. We've had spurts of playing good in the red zone. But let's put a full game together and see what we can do.
After the early part of the season, do you like to use to figure out what the offensive identity is going to be for the long stretch?
Yeah, I think we always do that a little bit. I mean, we always know Travis going to do what he does, but especially with the new receiver groups we've had these last few years, we've kind of built our identity through the season. Obviously, this is a little bit slower than we had the year before, but we have a lot of young guys that have showed a lot of great flashes, and so I know the talent's there. It's about how can we put those guys in the right position to go out and execute. And it's little things in this league, and people think it's a big gap. And we try to explain that if you don't execute those little things, these games are a lot closer than you're used to seeing. And so for us, we have to continue to get better and better each and every week, and to see where we can go from that.
When you fail to execute the way that you'd like to, the game gets closer. That makes a lot of sense. And he also said what I said about Travis Kelsey at the pitch, that if he didn't land that, that's an Andy Reid week at practice for you. So it better work. And if it works, it's beautiful. That's kind of funny. Next here from Patrick Mahomes, asked more about the Chiefs' defense and what's allowed that unit to take the steps that it has.
It's depth, I think. I mean, they've done a great job of not only drafting, but getting key free agents. And developing guys. I mean, we have guys that are starters on other teams that are trying to find a way to get on the football field. And when they get on the football field, they're making plays. And so when a guy like Nick Bolton goes down, we throw in Drew, and he can be a star middle linebacker. Or same with some of the DBs. Like we can almost rotate guys in because we have that depth on the defense, and they're playing with confidence. And then you got a guy like 9-5 in the middle. He takes up a lot of the attention, and so I guess those other guys get free, and those other guys are making the most of it. And I'm excited to get Charles back there. I think this next week.
Is there a broader ripple effect for you guys? I mean, obviously it helps to be able to count on them, but I mean, does it give you some peace of mind? Them playing as they have so far.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. But I have that aggressive mindset, so I always want to put as many points on the board as possible. But it gives me, especially with the defenses and how they're playing us in such deep zones, I can take the stuff underneath and drive the ball down the field. Hopefully to get touchdowns. Obviously, we got field goals today. Knowing that it might take some time, because I know get the defense fresh. They're going to come out fresh, firing. They're going to get the ball back to me quickly. And so I think it's more of a mental thing for myself. But at the same time, man, you know me, man. I want to go out there and score as much as possible, and you just got to be smart when you do it.
What's the frustration with short yardage?
Yeah, I mean, we just got to be better at it. I mean, we're great everywhere else on third down, so let's just continue to work on it. I
I think we've had great games at it. We've had bad games at it. It's part of football, but we'll continue to work at it. I promise you that. And we'll continue to get better and better at it. And so when we have those big moments, especially as the season goes on, we'll execute at a high level.
I mean, this is something that shows up both in that answer there about the short yardage and also with the growing pains and the talent and spurts that you can see. Consistency is just as important as production, if not more so. You can produce, but if it's not consistent, it's not reliable. And look, in the NFL, I mean, everybody else is always working to try to make you as inconsistent as possible. The whole point of a defense is to make you look foolish as an offense, to make it look like you don't have everything figured out. But if you can't convert on short yardage consistently, that's the way to beat you. Get the Chiefs out of their rhythm. Make them feel their young receivers, who, again, I'm interested to see where the snap count lands. But the Chiefs have things that when they do it poorly, the entire, I don't want to say it's a Jenga tower. It makes it sound like it's all about to fall over. I don't know that it really is. But the things that make this team special, if you can poke holes in that, you at least have a pretty clear goal for opposing defenses. And for as silly as some of the, again, like, you know, the NFL's figured out the Chiefs. They've solved Patrick Mahomes. As silly as that was, it at least felt like there was a playbook for defenses to try to step into a little bit. Right now, I don't just force the Chiefs to make a lot of plays, and if you can slow them down in the red zone, they'll kick a field goal, and they're not very good in the red zone, so your odds are okay. I'd just like to see a little more consistency there. The Chiefs obviously would as well. And Mahomes asked here, because it seemed like the frustration was evident, is there a frustration for him when they aren't able to score those touchdowns? I'm curious. I don't know if he'll be asked about or if they'll figure it out somewhere in here. If there's a question of, hey, is it frustrating to you when you clearly would like to get another chance to pick up 2 yards and your coach says, nope, we're going to go ahead and let one of the kickers go out there and handle it, either to punt it or kick it, or in some cases we're going to let the kicker go out there and then actually just snap it to Noah Gray. That is an interesting thing for me as well. I don't know that ever gets asked here directly, but also you'll hear Mahomes asked about if that Broncos timeout before the half surprised him. Sure as hell surprised me. So we'll hear Mahomes on that. But first, is there a frustration when they don't score touchdowns?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm just used to going out there and being able to have that mentality. I want to score every drive. And that's how I've always been, and I always will be. But at the same time, you got to win the football game. And so I can't let maybe a drive or two that we didn't get in the end zone affect the full scope of the entire game. That's something I've learned in my career. And so instead of trying to press or do something crazy or scramble around and do something, I'm just going to keep pushing and taking it one play at a time to move the ball down the field. And I know that if our defense is playing that well, if I can just continue to put just points on the board, we're going to win the football game. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
The field goal drive you guys had at the end of the first half, the Broncos called a timeout after their third down. Were you expecting to get the ball back? Like, were you guys going to call a timeout, or did that surprise you?
Honestly, there's a couple of thought processes there. I mean, with how windy it was, I think they were trying to say, let's make them field it. We already had one where it kind of got a little shaky there. It was so windy. And so, but at the same time, I don't think we were going to call a timeout. We were kind of satisfied with it. And they called a timeout, wanted us to field it, which we probably would have done that same situation. We got good field position, 2 plays, to the 50, and it seemed like Harrison could have made that thing from the opposite 20. So it was a big-time field goal from Harrison. Got us that another 3 points and then get the ball out of half. So it was definitely a turning point. But I mean, there's thought processes both ways.
Very kind of Patrick Mahomes to not just say, yeah, I was. Because he says that he laid out the thought process and said maybe they would have done the same thing. Again, the wind, you want to make him feel to try to get a big play there. That's all well and good. But if you are going to put that out there, you had better make sure you're not giving the other team 3 points. And the way the Broncos defense has operated all year, look, again, if it's not to pick on a guy who's gotten picked on plenty, but if that's rookie year Sky Moore back there and he's in the midst of muffing a punt every game, and I know that they did have one get kind of bobbled there earlier, but That's a crazy coaching decision, regardless if the Chiefs would have done the same thing. But it worked out well for Kansas City at least. One more chunk of audio from Patrick Mahomes today, talking about Rashid Rice in big moments, and then he was asked about those growing pains we talked about earlier.
Yeah, they did a good job. I mean, they had a good sense of they were going to make sure they took Trav away, and we had a receiver in the backfield with KT, so they pushed a lot of people over to the right. And I saw 47 kind of trying to get Joel was trying to get in there, and I just knew if I could get it to Rashid, there was kind of no one behind him. And so they were really focused on getting Trav away, which is probably smart thinking, but it opened up Rashid. I got the ball to him, and I told him, I was like, you got to get those knees up, man. There's two of them that if you get those knees up, I think you can get in the end zone. So that's going to be the next progression for him.
Last one. You talked a minute ago about growing pains and how this is coming along. Maybe a little slower. What are the reasons for that?
Yeah, I think it's just different. I think we're getting more coverage than even I've expected. And I know we said that kind of a couple years back, but I mean, there's a lot of deep coverages, and it's forcing us to be patient and drive the length of the field. And I think teams are just, with the young guys and trying to integrate them, they're going to say, we're going to make you drive the field and score touchdowns. And I thought we did a good job driving the field. We just didn't score the touchdowns today. And so if defenses are going to do that, we have to continue to get better and better at it. And then when the opportunity arises and we get man coverage, we have to make sure we hit those deep ones. And so I thought we did a good job at that part today. It's just the red zone is extremely important. We have to execute at a higher level there. But we'll go back and we'll have a big game coming up this next week, and we have to make sure we're better in that red zone this next week.
And yeah, look, I mean, if they're better in the red zone, the conversation about this game is very different because they did move the ball pretty well. But that little deal of they're going to make us be patient, keep everything in front of them. Now we got to do all of that dink and dunk kind of chipping away stuff. It was hard enough when they also had Juju Smith-Schuster. And, you know, for the ups and downs of McCole Hardman, a dude who had been in this offense for a while. The degree of difficulty on that, I think, is just raised when you have younger, less experienced weapons. And I thought Beards made the significant point of all of this earlier, which is that I don't think the Chiefs are prepared for a post-Travis Kelsey world, and I don't even know if they're prepared for anything less than a Travis Kelsey-driven world. And look, I don't want to soothsay the end for Travis Kelsey anytime soon. Still an absolute stud, but you don't want it to all be on him. That'll be an interesting thing to continue to figure out as the season goes on. It's a little frustrating that the red zone was such a boogeyman today, but maybe you'd feel a little better if a few of those drives got into the end zone. You'd also feel a whole lot worse if the Chiefs' defense wasn't tremendous today, and those red zone issues would have led to a loss, as opposed to being, it's something for us to work on. It would be that cost us a football game against a crappy opponent. So it goes both ways for me. I'm a little conflicted, but I am excited to see this game against the Chargers, and I'm glad that everybody, including Travis Kelsey, is going to get an extra few days to rest up and get healthy before they get out there for another AFC West game. 3 in a row, Broncos, Chargers, Broncos. Give us plenty to talk about over the rest of the month. I'm Joshua Brisco. Dylan Michaels is on the other side of the glass. Covell Hudson producing the show as well. We'll take a timeout and come back with more audio from Arrowhead here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Working out of the gun. 3 receivers to the left, 2 to the right. Wilson locks into the left. Ball is batted up in the air. Intercepted! Off the deflection! Kansas City comes down with it, and it's Justin Reid who spun down at the 36. Just when you think the Broncos have something going, it's negated. A 10-yard return, and the Chiefs take over.
Hey, listen, it wasn't ugly for the Chiefs, but it was for the Broncos. An offensive effort where it just never got going for Denver again. We're going to take it from that perspective because the defense likes to make it a little ugly. So it's our ugly play of the game brought to you by We Buy Ugly Houses. Owning a house can be a problem, an ugly problem. Repairs, taxes, mowing the yard. Let We Buy Ugly Houses be the solution. Call 1-800-44-BUYER or go to WeBuyUglyHouses.com. We'll hear from some more members of the defense momentarily. Want to hop over to Rashid Rice in a second, but I in the waning moments of the commercial break, I think I've put together some pieces of a thought that I'll sneak under before it technically becomes Friday morning. Here on Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. Going back to Mahomes in the red zone. And kind of this idea that, you know, there's such a fine margin between a 34-point day and a 14-point day. Mahomes sliding is the reason that I can't just say the Chiefs have put up 30 points in 2 games this year. Because he slid to end the game against the Jets instead of scoring. Could have kicked some field goals instead of taking knees, all of that, right? We're not playing for BCS points, so that doesn't need to happen. But if they're just average in the red zone, it is a different story. Absolutely. But also, if the defense isn't elite, it's a different story because they would have lost the game. And if they are more aggressive and more smartly aggressive in the red zone, it's also a different story. Because Patrick Mahomes is not going to get shut out on 4th and 2 and 4th and 3. They convert one, let's say they turn one of those into a touchdown. You take one, that doesn't make it. You replace the failed tush push with one of those. But none of those things happened, so this is still the story. This is what happened. I mean, I will go process over results 9 times out of 10 in terms of actually evaluating things, right? I'm not just saying that's the score, so that's the score. But if they were better in the red zone, they would have scored more points. Cool. If Andy Reid was more aggressive, they would have scored more points. Cool. But they're not, and they're not. They weren't and they didn't. So I don't know how much of that range you get to play in. It's frustrating. It's a little confusing. It is perfect for an October Chiefs game. I do want to hear from one of the young players who took a big step in this game as Rashid Rice has continued to see a larger and larger role. We'll hear from him in just a moment in our locker room report presented by Twin Peaks.
The Chiefs Locker Room Report is brought to you by Twin Peaks. No one does football like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, they have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu, second to none. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts at Twin Peaks.
Let's start with the offensive side of the ball, hearing from Rashid Rice. He had a good game altogether, but then the big play towards the end is certainly the exclamation point on it. Altogether, the second leading receiver on the Chiefs today, 4 catches for 72 yards. Could have gotten those knees up and turned that into 100 and a touchdown, but it's been pretty much a step every week, it feels like, for Rashid Rice. I'm bullish on his future. Let's hear what he had to say in the locker room after the game.
Hey, Rashid, first of all, I'm sorry, 16, go ahead.
You're comfortable right now with the offense. I feel like
not necessarily comfortable, but I'm confident in my offensive play as far as, understanding the playbook and not letting the playbook kind of overwhelm me for the most part.
So you're getting on the same page with Patrick, you think?
100%. It's not hard to get on the same page with Pat. He's a great quarterback, and if you got the love of the game, it's just going to automatically happen.
Who's the leader in the wide receiver room?
Personally, I think we're all leaders in our own way. If I need anything, I can ask any receiver in the room. So,
Sky had a lot of help last year from Juju.
Mm-hmm.
Juju's gone. Who's helping you a little bit in the receiver room?
I mean, shoot, like I said, I can name every receiver in the room. Our offense is set to where every receiver is outside slot, no matter, personnel formation. So, I mean, if Jay Ross has a route that I didn't run 2 weeks ago, he knows how to run the route, so I'm asking him about it.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Rashid, this is 16 in a row against a division opponent. I know this is your first one, but what does that mean in your mind when you hear something like that?
I mean, to me, it means everything just to, win in the kingdom in general, and then just carry a tradition of winning. And, I mean, we don't lose in our home, so.
You guys moved the ball a lot through the course of this game, but had a tough time getting into the end zone. What's the feeling overall offensively coming out of a game like this?
Just to take this little, weekend off and recover and get back to it so that we can prepare for, our next game.
Tell me about what was clicking for you personally today in the passing game.
Pat, and then, just the offense in general. They were in the zone a lot of the times, and our offense is set for where we could kind of settle in between zones instead of running full speed out of certain routes.
I want to ask you about Travis Kelsey going on a sprained ankle today and putting up the performance he did. What's your reaction to seeing a guy do that?
I mean, Trav is Trav. You don't know what to expect from him, but you can always expect him to come out and ball out for sure.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you.
Those two, Travis Kelsey and Rashid Rice, accounted for almost all of the Chiefs' passing production. Almost all is an exaggeration, I guess, but 196 yards through the air went to Kelsey and Rice of the 306 altogether, so about 2/3 of the passing yards went to those two guys. I'm really excited for what comes next for Rashid Rice. I really do think that that's a spot where growth is to be expected. Just has to keep continuing around him as well, and eventually the Chiefs have to put him in a position where they are fully trusting him to take a heavy workload and to potentially be the guy, at least the Robin to Travis Kelsey's Batman, I suppose. Well, I guess Batman's kind of Jason Kelsey's thing, so I don't know. I'll figure that out. We'll come up with a better metaphor in a little bit, but we've pretty quickly moved away from even talking about Rashid Rice as a rookie. A rookie wide receiver in Andy Reid's offense, we've talked time and time again about being a very high bar to clear, a difficult thing to actually accomplish. And Rice is forcing his way up the depth chart, forcing his way to more targets, just by working every day, improving every day, whatever the cliches are you want to take from the coaching staff. But it is evident he is the wide receiver, with an honorable mention to Kadarius Toney, who we might need to talk about a little bit more, but I also thought Beers made a good point when he said, you see him that way to the Chiefs, and that I don't know. I don't know if the Chiefs see him actually being a number one receiver, despite the fact that there was some talk of that this preseason and offseason. Rice and Toney, I'm going to talk myself right into it. Rice and Toney as your second, third options behind Travis Kelsey's a good group. If Rice is comfortable, if the Chiefs are comfortable with Rice, if Kelsey is healthy, if Toney is healthy. It's a lot of ifs, and that's the part that's a little bit concerning in a long football season. Let's go to the defensive side and hear from Trent McDuffie. Dude has been absolutely tremendous this year, and he forced that fumble we played you the highlight of earlier to essentially put this game away. Trent McDuffie spoke in the locker room after all the action.
Trent, another week where this defense is able to hold a shutout up until the fourth quarter. Man, let's talk about how fun it was out there.
I mean, shoot, talk about that shutout. This defense, we definitely every week want to try to run to zero. So once they score, there's a little emotions on the sideline, but that's a good thing. You should see guys who care that we don't want them to score. So playing with a defense like this, man, it's been tremendously fun. I mean, you got guys like Willie Gay, who's got a lot of emotion, Chris Jones. I mean, the D-line's eating, so it just makes it easier on the back end to go cover.
How beneficial is that where you guys, you're playing well together? It seems like the camaraderie is there.
Yeah, man. I think it just makes us play even faster. I mean, when you see it out there, guys are really sticking together. And you can see we're really playing for 4 quarters. And that's something that's big, especially when it gets down to the nitty-gritty and the scores start getting close. It's good to have a team that's really together and really trust each other out there.
Yeah, now, what was said at, halftime? You guys, the offense wasn't clicking like it's supposed to, but you guys seem to be picking them up.
Man, we just said we need to stop that run. First half they got that run game going, so second half that was a big focus. And we know once we stop that run, they're going to have to air it out, and as DBs, that's what we want. So just trying to make them one-dimensional, really.
And the turnovers.
Yeah, man.
Interception.
Justin
Reid got one.
Jay Reid got a sack, fumble. I mean, we were out there doing it all today, so you love to see it. I mean, like I said, this defense really is trying to take another step in, man, turnover. I mean, I think that's a big way that this defense can really step up and elevate is getting our hands on the ball. So it was an exciting day. I'm glad we got a few, and hopefully we continue to do that.
Appreciate you, my guy.
Can you take us through what happened when you got banged up there for a little bit during the game?
Yeah, man, just rolled my ankle a little bit. Went to the sideline, taped it back up, and I don't think there's really anything that could have kept me out of that game. I was ready to go right back in, so glad I was able to finish it out.
You haven't been a part of very many of them, but 16 in a row against a division opponent. Do you guys talk about that much, or what does that mean to you guys?
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that, but
that's incredible. I mean, you don't do that in the NFL very often.
Yeah, man. No, that's huge. I mean, that's a really good program, really good team, and we got to be able to fight each and every week. So it don't matter who it is, 16 wins, 0 wins. I mean, each week we approach it the same. So.
It was a lot of talk about how hard it is to get ready for a short turnaround on a Thursday night. But now you guys get the flip side, which is a little extra rest. Yeah. How are you going to enjoy this weekend,
Man, watch some college football. Shout out to the Dogs. They got Oregon this week. High school team, St. John Bosco got Mater Day. So got 2 back-to-back really great games. So I'm going to be enjoying sitting back on the couch, just relaxing for once in a while.
All right.
Hey, you and me both. That's that's Trent McDuffie. I was reading about Rashid Rice over here on my phone. Sorry, we heard from Rashid Rice once, and now that's McDuffie, who has a huge college game to enjoy this weekend, right? That'll be a lot of fun. We can all enjoy that without being stressed about the Chiefs not winning. They won the game. It was a weird game and an imperfect game and all that, but hey, we can put that in the back of our minds and enjoy some more football over the course of this weekend. And here's what I'm going to do for Trent McDuffie. The entire defense gets some share of this in my book. But, man, Trent McDuffie has been so good this year. He gets that big turnover at the end. And really, it'll be fascinating to see the All-22 and get some more time to digest what happened in the Chiefs secondary. But the Broncos just could not get anything going consistently in the air. How about this for a stat I just learned? I tell you all the time I don't always look at the box score. I almost never look at the box score during the game unless I'm looking for something, which was in the first half until that last drive. Isaiah Pacheco and Kadarius and Travis Kelsey combined for 170 of the Chiefs' 203 yards at that point. So I was looking that up. Dylan, you want to play a guessing game with me real quick?
Sure.
How many passing yards did Russell Wilson end this game with?
82.
95. Under 100. How about this one? Oh, that's not right. This ESPN's box score thing is not up to speed with me here. 82 is minus the sack yardage. So the Broncos passing game.
To be fair, I stole that from a PFF tweet. That's probably why, because it was a compliment to the Chiefs defense.
Yes.
They held them to 82 pass yards total, so they probably, there you go.
That's what it is. 13 of 22 for 95 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks, not even accounting those 2 picks, 4 sacks for 13 yards. Crazy. So, all that to say, the Chiefs defense altogether gets some share of this, but Trent McDuffie in particular gets the green light presented by Green Light Dispensary, a tremendous performance from him and a tremendous place in Green Light Dispensary. Green Light Dispensary, outstanding customer service, superior product, and continuously voted Missouri's best. Open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Find a location near you today at greenlightdispensary.com. Do we have... actually, let's hear from Justin Reid if we can. Another guy who brought in a turnover today. And, go ahead and do what you got to do there, Dylan. Just let me know when we're good to hear from him. Certainly, I don't know if he's the definitive captain of the defense or one of the captains of the defense. They rotate through on a game-to-game basis. But a guy who is very, very frequently out in front speaking on behalf of the Chiefs defense. Even McDuffie mentioning, you're trying to get that shutout, so a little emotional when you give up that touchdown. And again, that was a touchdown that probably shouldn't have happened with the Mike Edwards roughing the passer penalty. That was just silly, foolish, unfortunate, whatever. Not the hit, the call. But enough about how the referees are always working against the Chiefs. I mean, it's always a matter of how they can screw over Kansas City. If we could put those to bed for a little while, that would be lovely. We never can. There's always some conspiracy or whatever. But the Chiefs defense today is stupendous, even as the offense struggled. Let's hear from
I was going to say,
please.
To explain the beginning of this.
Okay. Nate said something, but I did not track it all.
So you and I enjoy the T-shirts that the defense have been wearing in their media, in the press conferences that are just like awesome sayings.
Mike Dana, I think, was wearing.
Mike Edwards had one recently as well.
Oh, I don't know if I saw Mike Edwards's.
That was, I think, this week.
Dana was, I believe it said, "Wow, oop." For we outwork our opponents.
Correct.
Which is a stretch of an anagram. Anagram is a shuffled one. An acronym, thank you. What's going on Justin Reid's shirt?
Act like a glacier. I imagine meaning never to be moved as a defense, probably, which must be awesome.
Get melted slowly, maybe? Okay, so is there? I saw there was a mention of it in Nate's email, but is that the conversation at the beginning here? Does he explain it? Okay, fantastic. Well, then we don't have to guess for ourselves, I suppose. So his shirt says, "Move like a be like a glacier,
act like a glacier."
Act like a glacier. Let's hear from the glacial Justin Reid.
Justin Reid. I don't even know what it means. I thought it was a cool T-shirt. I just got it.
Steady, slow-moving, powerful, that overwhelm you.
I'll take all of that. But yeah, that sounds pretty good, actually.
Consistent.
Yeah.
Cold as ice.
Ice my veins.
Hey, I apologize for repeating the question, but 16 in a row. I know you weren't a part of all of them against the Broncos, but that's impossible to do in the NFL, man, with so much parity year after year. What does that mean to you guys, 16 in a row?
It's dominance, man. But the biggest part about it is it's earned. Every one of those is earned. This is every game comes down to a one-score game. I don't think any of those 16 wins have ever been more than a one-score game. So it's always competitive, but it just goes into the diligence that the organizational culture that Coach Reid and Coach Spagnuolo was able to build here, that you're just able to keep doing that year after year.
Did you expect the kind of grind this game was going to be today?
I kind of figured it. You know what I mean? It always is. All of the divisional rounds. Next week is going to be the same thing with the Chargers. The following week back at Denver. Divisional games, it doesn't matter what the records are. Those games are always going to be tooth and nail.
I'd love for you to throw some flowers at the guys up front that were batting those passes down today, getting their hands on those balls. How important was that?
Across the board. We have Russell run around all over the backfield. He was able to scramble a few times, but a couple of those were able to get him and tackle him behind the line of scrimmage too. So it all starts up front, man. Football always starts in the trenches. Offensive line, defensive line. If you can be dominant there, it makes everything else just mesh and net together really well.
What was going through your mind when you saw that ball floating up in the air that you got the pick?
It was like low-hanging fruit, man. It was like, eyes get big. It's like, finally, And then Burton, of course, is the one who tackled me. And I was like, I went to Burton, why'd you tackle me, bro? You know what I mean?
Say, last question. Short week. We talked about that with you before the game, how hard that is. But now you get the other side of it, which is maybe a little extra time to recover. How nice is that going to be? Right for the next?
It's going to be so nice. It's going to be a stress-free weekend. You get to sit down and watch some football. So it's going to be good, and I think the guys have earned it.
Thanks a lot. Congratulations on the job, man.
Hey, listen, it's always a good sign when your post-game interviews have a soundtrack, because that doesn't usually happen in the losing locker room unless it's just like bleeding through the walls, in which case it's even more devastating. But in this case, the good vibes coming from the Chiefs locker room. I didn't realize Michael Burton was the one who tackled Justin Reid after the pick. That is hilarious. Did not catch that. Mike Burton wearing 20, Dylan and I were talking about early in the game. weird number for a fullback / running back, but it makes him look more like a running back and less like a fullback, I think. Got plenty of work, Mike Burton. Happy for him to keep the fullback position in the NFL kicking. But a great day for the Chiefs defense, no question there. And Justin Reid, a huge part of it. Why don't we go ahead and take a timeout? Matt Derrick said he's ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and see if we can coordinate that. We'll either come back with Matt Derrick or we'll come back and hear from Harrison Butker and Willie Gay. So you're either going to hear from a guy who kicked an absolute tank of a 60-yard field goal or Harrison Butker. No, I don't know. I wish I had a better grand athletic achievement. You're either going to hear from a guy with absolutely unlimited range or Harrison Butker and Willie Gay. Digest that for us.
Kelsey slot left. He is phenomenal in the red zone. They go the other way, caught for a touchdown. Kadarius Toney into the end zone, so they finally break through. 7 plays, 62 yards in 3:22.
Valdes-Scantling does a good job of just kind of getting in the way of the slot corner McMillan. Just kind of slows his route down, creates just enough of a pick there to get him out to the edge. And with relative ease, Mahomes finally is able to get the touchdown here.
That was pretty late in the second quarter when the Chiefs broke through. I did not think that would be their final touchdown, but it's our final and only touchdown nonetheless, and it's our play of the game brought to you by Central Bank of the Midwest. At Central Bank of the Midwest, every customer is a first-round draft pick. Central Bank of the Midwest, strong roots, endless possibilities, member FDIC. Well, I am extremely interested to know what this game was like live from Arrowhead, what the man saw from the press box up above, if, in fact, we have any more theories on how Taylor Swift escaped Arrowhead this week. It's time to talk to Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest, chiefsdigest.com, brought to you by Cap One Lending. The Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending is the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time and gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to caponelending.com. Matt, you pick. What's the story of this game that was, for a Thursday night football game, very, very characteristically weird?
And indeed it was. It was we very Thursday night football this thing up. If I had to go with the one consistent storyline throughout this entire game, I think it would be the Chiefs' defense continues to be really, really good. It was a complete effort. They came close, maybe a questionable roughing the passer call away from a shutout. This defense was complete. The offense, I didn't think played a complete game. The defense, I think, absolutely did. And they added the turnovers on top of that. Travis Kelsey had a great first half. His presence in the second half and the tension that he drew certainly opened things up for the rest of his teammates. But I think that the one consistent thing for sure is that this defense played really, really good tonight.
And what number of pass rusher in their rotation will they be getting back next week? Is he the second best pass rusher? Speaking, of course, of Charles Omenihu, whose 6-game suspension is now up. This defense should be getting better still?
Yeah, it should. I can't imagine why it wouldn't be better. I can't imagine Charles Omenihu coming in and suddenly making the pass rush worse.
Yeah.
Certainly you're swapping out somewhat. Does that mean that Omenihu is going to be active and Malik Herring isn't? Who is it that goes down? It's probably some debate, and how quickly will they kind of work Omenihu in? They don't have to rush him in. And remember, too, I think this gets overlooked a little bit. Even when he was a starter in San Francisco, he was never a, full-time player. 50% of the snaps was about his workload. And I don't think that even coming back with fresh legs, I don't know if you really want to push him any harder than that. He's going to have 6 weeks of rust to knock off and everything. But if he can just, to me, if he can come in and take a few more reps off of Mike Dana and George Karlaftis, and you're talking about just keeping those guys a little bit fresher, kicking. I think I know from watching this team during training camp in the preseason. They definitely plan on having him on the field on some third downs, and being a guy that can even kind of kick inside with Mike Dana, and you move Chris Jones around. There's a lot of flexibility that Omenihu gives you, and so it should make them better. There's no doubt about it. You had somebody like his talent that allows you to give more rest to Karlaftis and Dana. I think that's a great combination.
What depth, what position group today from the defense do you think ended up ultimately having the best day? I was keeping an eye on some of the prime vision, so we did get to see a little bit of kind of the live all 22, but you're seeing it from the press box, so you may have a better idea of what was going on in the secondary. Is there one depth there between the DBs, the linebackers, and the D-line that you thought, hey, that was the unit today that really stirred the drink defensively?
Man, that is a really good question, because I think you could make an argument for almost every single one of those. But I tell you what, I think I'd have to go with the corners, because once again, there wasn't anywhere for Russell Wilson to throw the ball. And now, granted, some of that was because the guys at the line were doing their job. They were clogging up the lanes, and you saw George Karlaftis bat down a couple of passes, Willie Gay tipped a couple of passes. That certainly helped out the secondary, but we weren't talking about anybody getting open against L'Jarius Sneed. We weren't talking about anybody beating Trent McDuffie. I think Jalen Watson had a penalty on him, but then he comes back later, has an absolutely great pass broken up.
Incredible.
Perfectly executed. So, I can't knock him. And, and once again, I mean, I can't think of any time that you had to call out one of the cornerbacks except for the penalty for having a bad mistake or anything. And they were a big part of, holding down the Broncos to what they did passing it, which, I mean, that was ridiculous. They held Russell Wilson 95 yards.
Yeah. I didn't realize that until like literally like 15 minutes ago. I'm not watching the box score all game, whatever. Everything I'd looked at, I had not gotten to 13 of 22 for 95 yards and 2 picks, and go ahead and minus 13 yards on the 4 sacks you took. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, Jerry Jeudy wasn't getting open against anybody. Cortland Sutton wasn't even open on the touchdown.
No.
I mean, it was a heck of a catch on him. And once again, we circle back to that play doesn't happen if not for a really questionable roughing the passer call. But, the Chiefs have probably gotten the ref's kiss a couple of times on some calls this season. So, I'm not going to necessarily allow the complaining about the officiating in this one. But, they were that close from a complete, game shutout. I mean, that's how good this defense was.
The phrase "ref's kiss," like in the tune and tone of chef's kiss, is something I don't think I've heard before. But it is, well, I guess chef's kiss. That is
I was
stupendous.
pretty proud of that, Josh. I'm not going to lie.
Is that an original right now?
I mean, I hadn't thought of it until just now. So it was definitely one of those post-midnight brainstorms that, I mean, maybe I heard it from somebody else and stole it, but if not, it's mine.
No, that's yours, and you can use it again when we see you here in 10 and a half hours. Because it's great. To that point, it was 8 points that had a very reasonable path to 0 today. Then going back and starting from the beginning, 14 points against the Lions defense, or against the Lions from the defense, the pick 6, obviously. The 9-point effort from the Jags, 10 from the Bears, 20 from the Jets, and even that was just, there were some dots from Zach Wilson, and then 20 from the Vikings. This is a heck of a resume. I mean, we're well beyond it being like a flash in the pan kind of one-off thing, I know, for the defense, but where do you stand now in the jumping into the pool analogy that we kicked around a couple weeks ago in the zone?
Because I think at that point I was just starting to make my turn into the pool. I mean, I was Greg Louganis kind of at the top of the jump, and then was just kind of starting to bend. I am maybe, I want to say a couple of feet moving forward. I mean, I still think that this has been an impressive 6-game run. There is absolutely nothing to take away from this defense because they've earned it. But except for, I mean, who was the best quarterback they faced in this first 6 games? It's Kirk Cousins, right?
I mean, it's Kirk Cousins or Trevor Lawrence. I know you hate Trevor Lawrence and think he's a big dumb bum, but I think he's good.
I mean, I think I would put probably, and it's fair, but I would probably put Trevor Lawrence and Kirk Cousins in the same bucket as elite game managers. I mean, they have not faced a quarterback of the competition that, one, I mean, they're probably going to face next week.
Yep.
I mean, Justin Herbert, I would take over anybody that they've faced in the first 6 games.
Agreed there.
I mean, Josh Allen, I mean, you can throw it on. I mean, there's Jalen Hurts. I mean, look at almost any quarterback they're going to face the rest of the season is better than they faced at this point. So the toughest challenges are ahead. There's no doubt about it. I mean, next week will be a huge test. I mean, if they hold the Chargers to under 20 points and it's another, or they get a bunch of turnovers and like they did tonight, then that is when I'm really going to start buying stock in this team. I mean, and this defense. I think it's a good defense. I mean, and they're certainly playing with a lot of confidence, and confidence can go a long way for a defensive group. Maybe that will take them even further. But, I mean, hey, it's a show-me state. I mean, at least I'm in the show-me state. They need to show me. So I need to see what happens when they face an elite quarterback, which at this point I have to say that I don't think they've faced.
Technically, right now, I'm in the sunflower state, so I'm seeing the sunny side of things, but I don't blame you for that. Now, I once again am just going to give you the entire scope of the Chiefs' offense. You've been there for the pressers and the interviews in the locker room and all of that. Pick anything from the offense that you think is important, that is worthwhile, that is valuable, that could give us something else as we begin to figure out what this Chiefs' offense is right now.
That is really tough because this was just, I mean, there was nothing really wrong, I guess, technically with the Chiefs offense tonight. I mean, if we're just being objectively, because let's face it, and I certainly grade this offense on a curve.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I base it on the body of work that I have seen of this offense over the past 5 seasons with Mahomes and Andy Reid together. And that's the standard by which I think we all pretty much hold this offense. Right now, it's substandard. It is not to the level that we are accustomed to seeing this group play. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. Is it the worst offense in the league? God, no. I mean, no. I mean, it's still probably one of the top 8 offenses in the league, even with its inconsistencies. But it's not firing on all cylinders right now. And I don't know. I mean, this is a Thursday night game, so maybe we shouldn't take anything away from it. I mean, the only real disappointment I would say tonight with this game was, one, this is a Broncos team that couldn't stop anybody from running the football, and held the Chiefs in the check pretty well running the football tonight. I don't think that the Chiefs' game plan, break Andy Reid's heart here, was particularly inspired. I don't think it was, certainly they weren't throwing out the nonsense that the Miami Dolphins threw up against the Broncos. I mean, by comparison, the Chiefs were running a preseason vanilla game plan tonight, with the exception of the third down short situations on the play sheet, which I don't even know how to talk about that. That's a whole other subject we could talk about, because I thought of the 300 or odd plays or whatever nonsense it is on Andy Reid's call sheet and play sheet, I saw one of the most conservative game plans I think I've ever seen, except for the third and shorts, which were all of these crazy plays that probably don't even belong on a play sheet. When Andy Reid's even upset with his own play calls, it tells you something. So I don't know. I mean, offensively, I don't know how much to really take away from this game, because it is a Thursday night, and we know Thursday night are weird games. Mm-hmm. But the pattern is that the receivers are not really gelling right now, and I don't know what to make of it. I don't know quite why it's taking so long for this group to settle in.
I think you touch on the two things that do give me pause, which is, one, that it's a pattern, it's not a one-off, and two, that it's the Broncos defense. Like, if this would have been just a weird, ugly game between two quality, like, even a fringe playoff team, I don't even know who that would be in the AFC, frankly, because it feels like there's a pretty big drop-off between real contenders and kind of the rest. But, like, frankly, the Jags, which we saw 17-9 as opposed to 19-8, That type of game in week 2, it was they even the record back out again. You got Chris Jones and Travis Kelsey back and all. There's still time to see this evolve. Scored a bunch of points against the Bears next. I wanted to see some things look easy offensively, even if it was vanilla. And then to your point, the vanilla stuff worked between the 20s, I guess. It worked on first and second down, I guess. Matt, I think Andy Reid's I'm going to go out on a limb, Hall of Fame football coach. I believe that, believe it or not. Running a tush-push sneak with Noah Gray being pushed by Tommy Townsend and Lucas Niang to get 2 yards with your lead blocker being James Winchester is one of the craziest things I think I've ever seen Andy Reid do.
Yeah, and I think that part of it, absolutely. I mean, and after the game, I think he basically mentioned this. I think that it was a coaching brain cramp.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a 4th and 1 play at best.
Yeah.
It's certainly not when you call on 4th and 2.
Yeah.
And and we love to talk about the subject of taking the best quarterback, taking your best player off the field at key moments and taking the ball out of his hands. Let's discuss the fact that the best quarterback on that field at that particular moment was Tommy Townsend and his gun. And you're taking it out of his hand and putting it in, to Noah Gray, and then having Tommy Townsend push him with a bad hamstring.
Yes, with a bad hamstring!
I'm just like, what are you thinking here? I don't know about that one. I mean, you're right. Andy Reid's a Hall of Fame play caller, and that was the equivalent of like Andy Reid going out and taking a leak, because that was just I can't explain that one. It was almost as bad as Sean Payton forgetting how many downs there were.
Dude, what's your theory on what the bleep happened there? What was? I mean, Mahomes said after we played the Mahomes presser, so people have theoretically heard. Mahomes was incredibly kind and said we would have done probably the same thing.
That was incredibly kind.
Incredibly kind. He gifted them a chance at 3 points, and the Chiefs took it.
Yeah, because I guess there were some people on the Chiefs sideline that were, signaling for a timeout, but I don't believe that there were anybody who actually is allowed to call a timeout because Andy Reid wasn't signaling for one, and nobody else, the higher ups or anybody I think on the field was signaling for a timeout. So the Chiefs were content to go ahead and let that just go to halftime. And, the whole 4D chess conversation going on was, this was just Sean Payton wanting to, kick the ball and see if the Chiefs might muff the ball just because Montreal Washington had the one earlier that kind of had a little bit of struggles with and the wind was blowing. So, hey, maybe this is a good opportunity to just take advantage and see if you can get a turnover. No, he told the reporters after the game he thought it was third down. He didn't realize it was fourth down.
Oh, my God. Wait, really?
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, he lost track. He said he lost track of downs. So,
your phone's still working. My mouth is just open. I mean, my mouth is usually open. In this case, my mouth is open and no sound is coming out, which is rare.
But you know what? Thursday night, Josh. That's what happens.
Wow.
Nobody's got any sleep, or maybe that's the whole thing. It's just.
You know what?
It's a nonsense week.
That's a good point. Everybody's cramming in game plans and everything, and then you just get a couple of coaching brain farts.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're going to talk to you again at 11 a.m. Later this morning, so I will let you go after this. The offense, the defense, some of the coaching decisions, some of the future of where this team goes, we'll break down a ton of that again. 11 o'clock tomorrow in the Zone. Matt will be here in studio. But the thing that we absolutely must discuss right now is a Cinderella run for Grazer. 128 in Fat Bear Week. Grazer takes down 32 Chunk in the final. We talked about last week. This was the 32 Chunk was the Rangers pick, essentially. I believe they said that was the biggest bear in Alaska. But Grazer, a mama bear with a heart of gold and teeth of teeth, a mouthful of teeth that she will use both to defend her cubs and to consume salmon at an unthinkable rate. Grazer, the 2023 Fat Bear Week champion. Matt, Derrick, your thoughts?
I mean, really impressive for so many reasons. I mean, one, she wasn't one of the top 4 seeds, so she had to play in the opening round.
Wow.
And was on the loaded side of the bracket because I think she had to go through, what was it? Will she go through Walker? 747?
Yep.
And then Holly?
Matt is not looking at notes. He just knew the matchups the whole way through, and that's 100% correct.
She had to take down 2 former, Fat Bear champions. And Walker, who, I mean, is one of the biggest bears in Alaska, so that was huge as it was. And then Holly, I mean, she and Holly are 2 peas in a pod. Mm-hmm. Both have their strong fan bases, but honestly, if I remember correctly, I don't think any of these matches were pretty close. I mean, Grazer was definitely the people's champion this year. She had everybody working for her, and Chunk, I mean, we've discussed it, some red flags. I mean, he had some issues, this season. Big bear. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He'll be back. I mean, he's a young, relatively young, mature bear. I mean, he's got some more good years ahead of him and everything. This was his first trip to the finals, I believe. So, he's got more, ahead of him and everything. But Grazer, she deserves it. And, I mean, let's face it, she was single this year. Pretty good chance she's coming back next year with Cubs. It'll make it a little bit harder for her. So nice to see her get a title, when she's clearly earned it.
This is peak title-winning year for Grazer. She gets it done. Now she's going to go back. I didn't even think about the Cub angle, man. I mean, that's incredible. The solo season, she says, I'm going to go grab the crown. I'll see you next year with some Cubs that I'm going to turn into the next generation of Fat Bears.
Yeah, and one of and I don't think that she had to take her out, but remember, one of the Bears was it 428? I can't remember, on her side of the bracket. One of Grazer's Cubs. So wow. she's already got second generation that's already representing in the Fat Bear bracket. So she's the Grazer lineage is going to be part of Fat Bear and Katmai National Park for a while now. And I do know from the play-by-play that was done early in the season during mating season, I mean, I'll be very surprised the grazer doesn't come back with some cubs.
Hello.
I mean, there were some big name bears, pursuing grazer during mating season. So,
this is a genuine question out of complete curiosity. Is there any way that we will be able to know? Is there a chance they will do some like genealogy testing? I've poked around the Fat Bear wiki and I've seen some like mention of this, but it doesn't seem like it's super consistent. Are we going to figure out who was able to land grazer this upcoming season?
I mean, if so, it's probably going to take years.
Okay.
Every once in a while they do these darting projects where they will collect genetic samples and everything. And I think they did this the last time they did this. I think it's either they haven't gotten the funding to do all the tests yet, or they lost some of them or something. So they're like apparently way behind on the genetic testing and everything. So some of the lineage that they know about is just because they've been, they track the bears by their characteristics and they know who's who and whatnot. But yeah, it's some of it is who's who is pretty sketch. So, but knowing the father of a bear is very difficult to know for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Regardless, that makes it the Grazer dynasty that we are currently witnessing, and we are all witnesses. Matt, I appreciate your time very, very much, and I will appreciate it just as much in 10 hours and 20 minutes when we hopefully see you sauntering on in for the Zone tomorrow.
Can't wait, and hey, if we reignite the bear talk for Jason, I know he'll love it.
I think he's going to be thrilled. I think we open with that, and then we just see. We got Dylan. Dylan's on our side, so I think we could figure out just a way to box Jason out if necessary.
I'm intrigued. I enjoy this. I actually looked it up on my phone the last time, Matt. I was all on board. I wanted to pick. I texted you that I wanted to pick and have us four choose one of the final four, and lunch was on the line.
I would have been all for that.
And I really, last year for me, Dylan, was sort of Matt bringing me up to speed very much right during Fat Bear Week. And so now the last several months for me and Renee has been us actually following the season. And so really, I think you're just beginning your Fat Bear era.
And I didn't want to say something ridiculous in front of experts last time, but I did tell you that the one that I thought was actually sitting down but was standing up, that's the one that won. What was that? What was the name
Grazer.
of? Yes.
You're right. You're right.
When I first saw that picture, that one, I really was going to pick. If I was going to get the number one overall pick, that was my go-to. I thought that bear was sitting down. That's how large that bear is. So, yes, it is a round bear.
And you're not a bandwagoner. Like were, because you were on that Grazer bandwagon, you can say you were on that Grazer bandwagon before she won the title.
Exactly.
I will absolutely claim that.
I'm really excited for whatever our evolving group chat is of just bear talk. I think it's going to be really fantastic. Thank you, Matt. We'll do more bear talk in the morning.
Can't wait to see you guys in a few hours.
You literally can't wait, because if we wait, it will be morning and we won't have slept. That's not Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, and the foremost Fat Bear Week expert anywhere in America, as far as I'm concerned, at least in the greater Kansas City area. There are some real crazies in the chats and the Explore.org YouTube chats and everything, but man, it's always worth the time to be there. But Matt has brought now both of us, both me and Dylan, up to speed. And if you haven't checked it out, the cameras are still rolling, Explore.org and on the Explore.org YouTube. It really is a treat. But Fat Bear Week has concluded. Grazer is a champion. Oh, and the Chiefs won a football game tonight, 19-8 over the Denver Broncos. We'll come back and we'll hear a little more audio. Harrison Butker, Willie Gay next.
60-yard attempt at the end of the first half. Fans in a frenzy. The snap, the placement, the kick. Butker leans into it. Butker! He's got it! From 60 yards away! Butker buries it to give Kansas City a 13-0 lead at the break.
An absolute moonshot from Harrison Butker. I didn't see any of the, would have been good from however many yards stats that sometimes they have. Seemed like that thing would have been good from the opposite end zone. I mean, absolutely ridiculous distance there. I'm exaggerating, but that thing might have been good from 70, and I believe that was with some hostile winds and not necessarily straight on helpful winds, which would have added even more range. Really a great kick and a huge game for Harrison Butker. He was nails all day. It's just that a lot of other spots in the Chiefs' rotation were not as strong on the offensive, or at least on the points scoring side. But we have talked plenty about how good the defense has been. The entire group of linebackers, man, really, really excellent. You get Nick Bolton back. He had a great play in coverage there on that interception, which is not to nitpick, but that's the part of his game that's been the weakest at this point in his NFL career. Does he have the range in coverage? And, man, he flashed some there. Then you have some big plays from Drew Tranquill, a big play from Leo Chanel, and Willie Gay is all over the place. So let's hear from Willie Gay as he was, he had a scoop on the fumble, and I think he had the batted pass that he brought down. That's off the top of my head. They're really, pretty much everybody who played significant snaps defensively had an impact play today, and Willie Gay amongst them. So let's hear from what the Juice Man had to say in the locker room after the game.
I was talking to Justin Reid about this a little bit. Did you guys anticipate the kind of grind this game would be today against the Broncos?
Honestly, man, we just try to go in as a defense and focus on our side of the ball. We never know what the offense is going to do. They might score 30 or 40. They might score 10,
Mm-hmm.
So we just got to lock in on our part and try to give up least amount of points as possible.
So you guys have been really in a zone defensively so far this year, and I was listening to the announcers during this game. Actually, in particular, you came up and made a hit in the backfield early in the game, and they said this team is flying to the ball like they understand the defense better than ever before. Is that the way you guys feel right now?
It's all confidence, man. It could be a different scheme, it could be the same scheme, but at the end of the day, it's confidence and details. So when you're confident and when you play with details, the big plays like that come. The interceptions come, the forced fumbles come, because you're doing your job, staying consistent, and you're doing the little things right, and big things will come.
Did you guys think you were going to be able to bat as many passes as you did today? That was a huge part of the game.
I think George had 2 of them, huh? And yeah, man, when you play against a quarterback, that's one thing Coach Spags preaches all the time. You're playing against a quarterback under 6 feet, get your hands up, because he's throwing a lot of line drives. We can get our hands on him.
Finally, we talked a lot before the game about how hard it is that Thursday turnaround, trying to recover your body. But now you get the other side of it, which is a little extra rest. How nice is that going to be?
Oh, it's wonderful, man. I'm about to go home, eat a couple chocolate chip cookies, and enjoy these next 4 days. So,
all right.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy those cookies.
Thank
Thanks.
you, man.
All right, Willie. Appreciate you.
Willie Gay with our own Nate Bucati there. Some chocolate chip cookies for the post-game meal for Willie Gay. I don't have a post-game snack plan for when I get home, but I kind of want to see if I can find some chocolate chip cookies. That is rude, Willie Gay. Bring enough to share with the whole class if you're going to be talking about chocolate chip cookies. It's 1 a.m., man. I got to get some cookies. Before we do, though, let's hear from the man who I threw that praise on at the beginning of the segment, and rightfully so. Harrison Butker had an absolutely huge night, a podium game, in fact. Here's what Harrison Butker had to say when he addressed the media after the Chiefs' win, when he was the team's leading scorer.
In the offseason, you talked to us about how much time you put in and kind of reinvented yourself in the kicking game. Just does it pay off when you see results like this?
Oh, definitely. If anyone watches me on the sideline, I have my duct tape on the ground, I have measuring tape out, and I just try to be like a robot. And it really does start in the off season, developing a good foundation. So if I know where I want my steps to be and what I want my technique to look like in the off season, when I get to the season and big kicks, I can just kind of get outside my body a little bit, just rely on my mechanics and not have to think a ton, and hopefully the balls are going straight through. And thankfully this season I've had a lot of kicks where the balls are going right where want them to, but definitely building that foundation, kicking-wise, but also physically, and making sure I'm feeling good. And I talked earlier about hurting that ankle last season. It does mess up, all your lifting, all your sprint work. So when you do come back, you're like struggling to hit the ball as far. But I'm feeling good, and thankfully the balls are going through. Right. I think I really had to be okay with my technique looking different. I used to skip downfield a lot, so I would plant with my left foot and then skip, maybe at a 45-degree angle, a couple feet downfield. But now, I don't really skip at all, and if I do, sometimes it's straight to the left or almost a little bit backwards. And it's not perfect technique, but the balls are going through. And as a kicker in year 7, I'm not trying to, be the best looking technique kicker there is. If the balls are going through, that's what I'm going to do. And I've had to adapt and evolve. But, I still got a pretty decent follow through with the right leg. But, I'm just not skipping downfield as much. But, that's really minor stuff. At the end of the day, the ball's going through. That's the most important.
You obviously getting winners in the Super Bowl. You've been doing this for a long time. What's the feeling like when the ball's midway in the air and the crowd sort of lets you go?
Well, normally the crowd doesn't let me know, I'll know before the crowd, or I should. But it's been a lot of fun, and it's a blessing to be able to play with the Kansas City Chiefs, where we have a great coaching staff, great team of guys, and we're fortunate enough to win a lot of games. So I've been put on this pedestal where I am kicking big kicks, and it's nothing to do with me as a kicker. It's just I'm on this team and I'm getting the spotlight a lot of times, and it's just a blessing as a kicker. You don't really create kicks, right? You just are given chances to go out there and hopefully you produce and do well. But I never would have thought I'd be an NFL kicker now, going on 7 years, and still kicking the ball and feeling good. So just very thankful.
Harris, the 60-yard field goal. Just walk us through the process on that. When did you think you get opportunity because they're restricted section, you guys got possession, then all the wind going on?
Right. In warm-up, I made a 65-yarder with some room to spare, and Coach Tobe loves banging big field goals at the end of the half or end of the game, but our offense is so good, we normally get a short field goal or even score a touchdown. So a 60-yarder was definitely, or 61-yarder was definitely in our range, and going towards that tunnel, the wind was at my back. And, thankfully it just went inside that left upright, went through, and, it's just something we practice and we try to be the best we can leading up to the game, so that when we get to the games, it just feels smooth and like we're in a rhythm.
So 65 yards was your range to that end?
65, I don't try to kick a ton of balls in warm-up, so like in past seasons I'd go back to 70, 72, 74 yards to see what my max was, but this game, I made from 65, okay, probably could make from 68, 69 or something with the wind, but yeah, made 65 in the warm-up.
Given that you said you altered your technique a little bit, it's a little bit different, did you feel like you needed to see a good streak to start the season, just mentally to have confidence that this was going to be the best way to go?
That's a good question. I never think about streaks. I always say every kick's a big kick, and I really try to focus on just one kick at a time. But, streaks definitely help for confidence, and you feel good. But I think the way I've approached pregame warm-ups and practice, I'm hitting less balls, and I'm just trying to be mentally confident going into it. Boom, I can make a big kick without having to warm up a ton in the net, warm up, on the uprights before maybe I'm kicking with the team. It's just trusting, my mechanics and just going out there. So I think I probably came into this year just more mentally confident, not needing to kick a bunch of balls. And because of that, my legs feel better throughout the game and throughout the season.
Harrison, it seems like you and Tommy are always the first ones to know when the ball's going through. When did you know that 60-yarder?
Not until it went through, because that one was flirting with the left upright, and I knew the wind was a little left to right, so I was hoping it was gonna, fade to the right a little bit, and it did. So very thankful on that, and just want to give a little shout out to Tommy, who was struggling with the left knee, and the fact that he played, man, he could be the holder, and that helps out me a lot to have someone that I'm familiar with that does a great job. And I definitely would not have had this game most likely if we brought in, a different kicker or different holder, different punter.
It's a good point there, as Tommy Townsend has gotten some extra flowers for his performance today, getting through the hamstring injury, briefly being involved in a tush-push, and helping to bring Harrison Butker to a huge day as the team's leading scorer. One note on something that I was thinking about earlier, asked about throughout the world earlier, but now have a verified answer for. 19-8 is not a scoregami. Scoregami is what it is when there is a game that ends in a final score that's never happened before. 19-8 is not scoregami. That has happened one time before, tweeted out by the NFL Scoregami account. That game happened on October 12th, 1927. So the first 19-8 game in almost 100 years and the second in NFL history, and man, it was exactly as weird as the final score indicated. The Chiefs' offense has not looked like the Chiefs' offense that has earned the reputation of being an absolute fire-breathing dragon with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. But this is, by far, the best defense he's ever had on the other side of the field. There are pros and cons to a game that you win ugly, but the thing that we know for sure is the Chiefs have won 5 in a row and 16 in a row over the Denver Broncos. For years, that would have been an entire, complete, perfect season. Now the Chiefs will have to do it one more time in 2 weeks against Denver, but up next is the Chargers. In the meantime, we'll be back on The Zone tomorrow morning to break down all this all over again, and then it's an NFL quadruple header on Sunday here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. For Dylan Michaels and Covell Hudson, I'm Joshua Brisco. Bye, Mom!